start with K-State because last night, that is what they looked like a majority of the season. They were coming off a nice win against Arizona State. Coleman Hawkins was awesome. And then last night, that performance against Baylor, where they lost 70-56 and were really not in that game outside of the first minute or two, that was who K-State was this year.
When I watched them, that felt like not a team that quit, because obviously they kind of clawed back in a little bit closer than maybe it was in the early portion of the game, et cetera, right? So maybe a tiny bit of fight or a little bit of fight to go with it. But genuinely, it just is a team that lacks enough talent to be a serious threat. And what happened last night was they got on the floor, they got behind the 8 ball a little bit against a team that's not way better than them. Like on paper over the course of the year, a little bit better than them, but not like way better than them over the course of the entire year, Gold. And they got run out of the gym. And look, I didn't need to know anything else. If I had not watched a single second of the game and you had just told me that Coleman Hawkins didn't get his first bucket till the second half, okay. I could have told you Kansas State was going to lose. That's not like a mystery or any other part of it. It's that afterwards, it's like Tang was just like, well, we know some changes, but we like ourselves too. And it just felt like a team that fell apart at the beginning of the year, had one 5-game stretch that convinced us they were a competitive basketball team, and then was just kind of bad the rest of the way. I think in retrospect, it was a mirage, a total mirage. That stretch of games in which they looked good against really good opponents. And what they were last night, one of the worst teams in the Big 12 this year, that's pretty much what they were this year. Bottom third of the Big 12 teams, so can lose to anyone on any night, shot really poorly. Coleman Hawkins had a bad game, and that was kind of it.
And he spoke after. Drew, you were at the game last night as well, and in the evening session.
Yeah.
And we all know like the story of him getting the money through NIL, right? One of the highest, if not the highest paid NIL players this past year in college basketball, and never got going right. And then, there'd be some flashes, and he was heavily criticized in this new era of NIL where players are being compensated the way they are and the dollar figures are so public, you're going to be criticized more. And this was Coleman Hawkins, very emotional after the loss.
I really wanted to come in and impact the program and, some of the stuff, the outcome, obviously wasn't what we wanted. I feel like I let a lot of people down. And I feel like I did a poor job of letting people talk about me and it affect my play. And it was evident all year, and I wish I could just go back, block out everything, not for myself, but for the team, so we could have had a more successful year.
So that was Coleman Hawkins. Obviously, feel bad for the kid. He did not have the season anybody expected him to have, and he admitted there, and there's a longer cut as well, where he says the NIL backlash from making $2 million. And I understand some of you are going to say, "Oh, he made $2 million. Who cares?" We're still talking about we're still talking about a person and emotions, and it still impacts you no matter how much money you're making.
Showing an honest moment,
yes, he made $2 million. Doesn't mean things don't affect you still, but this is the reality of not a lesson, but a reminder of the impact that the new NIL world has created, where we know what these kids are making, and so they're judged differently. I'm not saying people should cross the line of taking personal shots, but in terms of your play, people are going to be more critical of what you're getting out of it. In this case, the reported dollar amount, was what, $2 million when he transferred in from Illinois, and they received votes in the preseason AP poll. K-State did way back when, after they got Hawkins, and he ended up averaging 10 points, almost 7 boards, 4 assists this year for them, and he was inconsistent, and then yesterday, of course, was just not a very good day at the office, to say the least, for him.
And that happens. I'm not trying to take it as like a personal thing.
Yeah.
He's like, he can't have that kind of game and Kansas State win, which is what happened. But yeah, I do feel for the kid. He obviously meant a lot to him to go to K-State, and he was emotional about the fact he felt like he let down the program because he did get paid a lot of money to come in here and make this program better. And they weren't a good team.
Yeah, that's
the
reality.
Below 500. They've already admitted they're not going to play in a single postseason tournament. Wouldn't matter if they got an invite to the CBE or the NIT. They weren't showing up. They're not going to go to any of those right now. They're just going to shut it down and try to reset kind of where they are. And then there's the bigger picture stuff of Jerome Tang and where's your confidence level right now in the program. But I don't know. You're always one good portal year away from You know, like, it was like one good portal year away from being
no
good
doubt,
again.
no question. And we know he's done it before. I think the interesting thing to follow in the offseason will be what kind of money is he allowed for NIL. What I mean by that is he convinced them to make $2 million happen for a player, and it obviously backfired. Does he have the same resources this next year in the portal? I don't know the answer to that. My assumption is no, but I don't know the answer. Folks in Manhattan may have more insight on that, obviously. But that what he was describing, those emotions are what a lot of players are going to feel more and more if they don't perform after everybody knows you got paid the same way at a professional level. And that's where we're at now in collegiate sports, is some of these guys being compensated as professionals. And if they don't perform, as long as you don't cross the line, they're going to be criticized. And how do you balance that? It's so easy for us to say, well, stay off social media, because he admitted, like, hey, the social media stuff got to him because he was getting crushed throughout much of the season. It's so easy, like, we'll just stay off of social media, because that would be the easiest thing, right? Like on the surface, you're like, dude, just stay off of social media. Easier said than done. And then also with these NIL deals, some of them, hey, you're asked to promote things through your social media following. So it's very difficult, but this is what is going to happen more and more. I'm not saying that people are not going to live up to the hype, but he will not be the only situation next year or years down the road where someone gets paid a lot of money and doesn't have a good season.
The biggest concern is that Jerome Tang's team has gotten worse every single year. First year as a coach, made the NCAA tournament, won a game there, then won 19 games last year and missed, now won 16 games this year and missed. His team has gotten worse. All 3 years he's been the head coach of Kansas. They started off pretty hot, and now his teams have regressed back to, like, middling over the last 2 years, so they're going to have to see.
He leveraged Arkansas last year for a new contract, and if it wasn't for that massive buyout, maybe we are having a different conversation about the future, but he's not going anywhere now because of the buyout. Next year, depending on what they do, that's a different conversation. But right now, Jerome Tang will be the head coach next year in Manhattan for the Kansas State Wildcats based off of the buyout amount.
I do think, too, with the Coleman Hawkins thing, it was obviously tough to see him have that reaction, but it was nice to see somebody who really took it upon themselves to try and make the team better, and in knowing in a situation where you're heartbroken, your season's done, and you didn't complete that goal, you're showing your emotion to this level and not along the lines of, well, I'm getting paid $2 million, so I'm good. It's something that college sports tend to bring out, especially around this time of year with March Madness. But it was nice to see where he had even said, and we didn't include the soundbite in there, I'd cut it out, but he was like, I've experienced what nobody in that room had really experienced before in their careers, and I wanted to give that to them. So along with the money and everything, he felt the responsibility of, I've been to an Elite Eight. I want to be able to be a part of the reason why these guys get to see something like that. And obviously it didn't happen, but it was nice. It was a respectable moment, I think, from a lot of people regarding Coleman Hawkins in that last night.
Yeah. Then you were at T-Mobile Center pretty late last night because we had an overtime game in the late session, Kansas against UCF last night. A very entertaining game, kind of crazy game. Had just about everything in it. Ended up being 98-94 win for Kansas. They're going to play Arizona tonight in the late game again, 8:30 at the Big 12 tournament inside T-Mobile Center tonight. And that game, much like what we just said with K-State, that game last night was also another very perfect encapsulation of what the Kansas Jayhawks have been. There's flashes where you get excited, you're like, wow, it's all coming together. Hell, AJ Storr, your guy, Drew, had his best game in a Jayhawk uniform. You're like, oh, here we go, just in time for the tournament. Meanwhile, KJ Adams still can't catch a pass from Hunter Dickinson. DeJuan Harris at times, they forget they have a guard. Bill Self's even drawing up ISOs for KJ Adams late in the game, and he's stepping out of bounds. I mean, it's just the stuff we've seen all year. They can't close out games. It goes to overtime. They're very fortunate, I think, the Johnson kid fouled out for UCF there before the overtime period. Look, to me, the win ensures they don't fall back to an 8 seed on the seed line. To me, they've locked themselves in at least a 7, and then if they were to go on a little bit of a run, including tonight against Arizona, could they go higher than that? Yes. I think last night's win was important, that you didn't lose to an NIT team and put yourself maybe on the 8 line. So they needed that one. Maybe there's something there with your guy, AJ Storr. I don't know. The perimeter defense is still disastrous.
They had, I don't know, 5 times I thought they had a chance to close out the game. When they were up like 10 with 8 to go, that felt like a good chance to just like maybe keep him at arm's length, and then that lead got erased immediately. At the end of regulation, they had a 2-possession lead with like 90 seconds to go and couldn't close it out and let it get to overtime. And then it was still a sweat at the end of the overtime period when it didn't need to be.
Yeah,
and so
UCF got a good look there on that last possession that they had.
Everything about like I'll say this, and I haven't watched like a million Kansas games this year, right? I haven't watched all 33 games or whatever they played this year. Does anyone else watch Kansas basketball and it feels like their offensive identity is scrambling to pick up the ball that's on the ground? Like the entire offense at Kansas feels like, the ball, it's like fumbling and it's like made of butter. The entire team looks like they don't know how to handle the basketball. They try to pass inside and it goes through KJ Adams' hands. Hunter Dickinson's trying to look like Steph Curry out there half the time. Like none of it looks fluid. And then they'll look fluid for like 4 minutes and I'll be like, oh, that's what Kansas wants to do offensively. You know, the pick and roll from Hunter Dickinson and they get him low and then KJ from the wing. You're like, oh, this kind of makes sense. And then they just immediately fall apart and start like giving the ball away and making bad passes. And you're like, this doesn't make any sense. Kansas, just very unimpressed. They're way better than UFC, or they should be way better than UFC. They're probably not way better.
They're UCF.
Or UCF, sorry.
I know you're good. We've all done that one before.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
I'm not used to them in the conference yet.
Correct.
Then UCF, and you're just like, you watch him play, and it's like, yeah, you just let him hit endless threes on you.
Now,
You
look,
let him
UCF,
get-
UCF when they played at the Allen Fieldhouse when it was a close game, UCF hit some threes there. I think they hit 14 at the Fieldhouse. They hit 14 again last night.
Keyshawn Hall, man, is a
that's
big
part
time.
of that's part of their game. I just think KU's perimeter defense. I thought with DeJuan Harris did not play in the last game against UCF. I thought with him out there, their perimeter defense would be better, and it was not. It's why that even AJ Storr was great on offense, but you notice they tried to get Rylan Griffin in there a couple times because he's just a better perimeter defender, and there was some miscommunication. Drew, you saw it in person. I thought last night was just what Kansas has been for much of the season. It was good they won, though.
Yeah, and Bill Self, one of the first things he said in the opening presser is, look, defensively, that is not at all the game that we want to have, obviously, for obvious reasons. Somebody did mention, I think, and this is a key point, amidst the poor defensive game, Keyshawn Hall down the stretch couldn't really do much, and I think KJ Adams deserves some credit
There's also
for that.
cramping.
Yeah, that as well, where his leg locked up. But KJ Adams being able to take it upon himself in a way to say, okay, this guy's killing us single-handedly right now. He's the best player on the floor. We need to stop him, and if we stop him, then we're good to go. And he was able to help make some plays down the stretch. But, yeah, that game was very exciting and very entertaining for somebody who has no skin in the game. I would say that's one of the best college basketball games
It was very entertaining.
Of the season in terms of entertainment.
Yeah. If you're looking for optimism moving forward, it's like, hey, offensively, I actually didn't think it would. I mean, not just because they scored 98 points, including overtime, but like offensively, that was actually one of their better offensive performances. It really was.
And AJ Storr and Zeke Mayo are both playing really well because Zeke Mayo played great in the first half.
He did. He had
Pretty good in the second.
finished with 24 points, led the team in scoring. But the biggest difference was out of nowhere, they got 19 points from AJ Storr. And we'll see tonight against Arizona, late night, long game. Arizona's fresh. Kansas is a 1.5 point underdog tonight. We'll see. If they can get through Arizona, they just beat them in a very close game at Fieldhouse.
I'm less confident they're going to beat Arizona after watching them play against UCF.
Yeah, I'm trying to balance that because this is where that's my first reaction too. I think everybody's reaction after last night, they're going to get killed tomorrow by Arizona. Basketball's weird. Betting is weird. I don't have a good feel because I think, yes, the public's first reaction is, well, there's no way they're going to beat Arizona. They played late last night but there's a reason why they're only a 1.5 underdog in this game.
I think Kansas wins tonight.
Yeah, it would not surprise me. The last night might have prevented them from being able to go on a really deep run in the tournament just because now you're going to be putting even more games together. But I don't know. I mean, I keep saying your guy because he's a Wisconsin guy.
That's right.
AJ Storr, if he's able to found some sort of confidence and trust at all this late from the coaching staff, that's something that could have an impact next week in the tournament. But we'll see. We've seen one game performances from a player or two before. Coit had the one game where here we go, and then he hasn't done anything since. Yeah. AJ Storr, was that last night? Sure, seems like an outlier, or it is an outlier for the season.
It's an outlier for how things have gone, yes.
But is there a chance that
he can be a 10 to 12 point guy, a contributor?
I was joking with you guys in the text last night. I was like, AJ Remy Storr, can all out of nowhere, can he pull a Remy Martin here and lead him through a tournament?
I mean, more than Coit, yes, because we saw last year he averaged 20 points a game. He's capable of being that player. It's just a matter of, I think for him, the way that he's been, his minutes have been so inconsistent at times that if he gets going, like last night, he hit his first two shots. And he was asked afterwards, like, did it feel like you were going to have one of those games? And he's like, I'm going to hit my first couple of shots, and yeah, it felt good it boosts up your confidence. Like Zeke Mayo, to your point, Cody. He was on
the last
he was
two
on
games of him
fire.
is the most confident. The best thing for Kansas out of anything that's happened over the last 3 weeks is that Zeke Mayo doesn't look afraid to shoot a basketball anymore.
Totally.
We'll get back to some college basketball throughout the show. Our Big 12 scoreboard updates will kick off when we get the Iowa State game going, but our Big 12 tournament coverage on 96.5 The Fan is brought to you by Twin Peaks. Eats, drinks, scenic views. Let's go to the NFL a little bit. And, you know, the offseason, we always joke about everybody trying to make their case why this is the year somebody else is going to snap the AFC West streak the Chiefs are on. And the Chiefs are a couple years away from matching that AFC East streak that the New England Patriots had during their two dynasties over 20 years. And so it's not surprising that we'll see that. I guess I was surprised that on March 12th, we already were seeing people make their case for why the Chiefs will not win the AFC West this year. This came from Joe Fortenbaugh over on ESPN Radio. And look, if you want to say the Chiefs aren't going to win the division, I'm not even going to say you're like crazy. I'm surprised you're saying it this early when we don't even know what the rest of the AFC West has done yet or the Chiefs' final picture. It was more the reasoning that didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Problem is they're not going to be able to solve all of their issues to get back to the Super Bowl next year. They're heading for, I'm not going to call it a reset, but I would not expect them in the Super Bowl next year. I don't expect them in the AFC Championship game next year. I'm going to be betting that they do not win the AFC West next year. Right now, it sounds crazy because of how dominant they've been. But at some point, the bottom's going to fall out on these guys. There are a few big red flag indicators. Number one, they have won 17 consecutive one-score games. They were 12-0 in one-score games last year. Last time we heard of a team that was that dominant in one-score games was the Minnesota Vikings a few seasons ago. Bottomed out the next year.
They went 13-3, right?
You can't just bank on the idea that Denver's always going to have that game-winning field goal blocked, or that Cincinnati's always going to commit that penalty in the big spot, or that Isaiah Likely's toe's always going to come down out of bounds. It doesn't work like that. Eventually, the math catches up to you. You're going to start losing some one-score games. On top of that, I don't see Travis Kelce having some resurgence. He'll be good. He won't be great.
So that was Joe Fortenbaugh on ESPN Radio the other day. A couple things. Look, are the Chiefs going to go 30-0 in one-score games? No, of course not, right? Like
maybe.
They're probably not going 30-0 in one-score games. I understand that eventually that does come back to the pack.
Sure.
The problem is saying, well, because remember when the Vikings went 13-3 and then they sucked the next year? The Vikings haven't won a Super Bowl. They had Case Keenum going for them, not Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid that have won multiple rings that were just in the Super Bowl. I just don't get the comparison to the Minnesota Vikings
from
for
2
why
years ago. That's a really weak
from why that's going to happen again. If you wanted to say like, the Chiefs aren't going to be in the Super Bowl next year, like that's not a crazy take at all, right? It's very hard to get there. All these different things. Could the Chiefs take a slight step back win-wise? Absolutely, all in play. But you got to come up with a better reason for me to believe it, other than, hey, that team that has done nothing as a franchise, and they didn't have the best quarterback in the league. Remember when they had a fluky year and then stunk?
They probably came back to earth because Case Keenum was their starting quarterback, not because they won a bunch of one-score games. Look, I'm not saying that one-score games isn't like, but this isn't to me like turnovers. A number that we have generally decided, like fumbles recovered, right? That is a stat that has a variable, right? It's an oblong ball that bounces any number of ways. There are years in which you come back to the mean on that, and that's just life. Records in one-score games typically indicate to me the level of team you are. Maybe it changes the following year because you don't have the same amount of talent, the same amount of grit, or any of the things that come with it, or just the ability to win in that way. 17 in a row, that's out of fluke territory. I'll say about that stat. If you say they've won 4 one-score games in a row, I'll hear you out. 17 in a row, we are out of fluke category. You are just better than most teams at winning one-score games. That's it. No other part about it. No other thing about it. Plus, Minnesota had that down year where they went 7-10 the following year and had to change quarterbacks and go through all this, they had to refine themselves. That was a 13-3 year. In 2017, he's making this reference, by the way. And then the following year, they went to 8-7 in the first year of Kirk Cousins.
And even a couple years ago,
under Mike Zimmer.
And even a couple years ago, when we all knew the Vikings were fluky and
13-4, we thought they were kind of
fraudulent. And that was with Kirk Cousins, I think,
and O'Connell. So at least the same people.
O'Connell. But still, the same thing applies. Like you do have to consider the track record of who's in place and have they actually shown they're not fluky, as in they followed up the season. The Chiefs are, even if you want to say it's over now, but they've been a dynasty. So the idea that what they have done is something they have no way to back up. This is what people have been saying for like 2 years also. That's the other problem with the take is like 2 years ago, I could have played that cut 2 years ago. Other than the 17-0 one-score stat,
end of the run.
you could have said the same thing. I have no idea if they're going to the Super Bowl next year. It's very hard to do, very difficult. Winning the division, I tend to think that barring a massive change of what I've seen from the other teams in this division this offseason so far, and what is an unfinished offseason, I haven't seen something that actually terrifies me to think that it's changing. Geno Smith doesn't cause me to really freak out. Sorry. The Broncos,
What?
I like the Evan Ingram signing for their
That's a
tight
good
end
sign-
yesterday.
another good signing by them.
The Broncos, are the Chiefs going to go 5-1 in the division next year like they did this year? I don't know, maybe not. But if the Chiefs are maybe fluky by winning 17 one-score games, why was Bo Nix rookie year not fluky? I don't think it is, by the way, but like, why wasn't that a fluky rookie year for Bo Nix? Maybe he got lucky. I don't know.
More
I can do
often
the same
than not,
thing.
That's far more likely. I'll be honest. That's far more likely to be fluky than the Chiefs, who have been to 7 consecutive AFC title games. Because that's the other thing is, I don't think they'll be in the AFC title game. If you're saying that, you're just doing that for attention. No offense. Like, this is the year they finally don't get it. You're right. I've heard that 5 years in a row, 4 years in a row. I don't know how many times in a row I got to hear they're not going to make the AFC title game. They're not going to make the Super Bowl. Well, they've made the AFC title game 7 years in a row or 8 years in a row. And they've made the Super Bowl 3 years in a row and 5 times in the last 6 years. You're actually going way against the odds to say that. And just because they won in one-score games, that's how they got to all those AFC championship games and Super Bowls. There's a number, even fluky numbers, that get so high that they're no longer fluky. I mean, like for Shohei, right? I'd be like, nobody can keep doing this. Well, no, some people are just against the normal grain of things.
A little bit of news in the NFL. I guess, the Steelers have found their quarterback,
Drew's
according
guy.
to Mike Garafolo, the Steelers have signed Mason Rudolph to a 2-year, $8 million deal.
Maybe he'll start for Pittsburgh instead of Tennessee.
They didn't have
a starting for them.
They did not have a quarterback signed, so they just, they got to make sure while they have Aaron Rodgers hold their, soul in their hand for the next couple of weeks. But basically, the dream of yours to have Mason Rudolph start for the Tennessee Titans is over. It's over. It's Will Levis or Cam Ward, it looks like. It's one of those two, right? It has to be, doesn't it, at this point?
I just
Or
don't think.
Russell Wilson's taking a visit to Cleveland, not Tennessee.
Is Aaron Rodgers potentially a Tennessee Titan? I think that's the outlier in this whole equation.
The only teams
that hasn't been mentioned like that.
Yeah, that would go against all the reporting. All the reporting says it's the Steelers, Giants, or Vikings.
I don't know if I wouldn't want the job if I was Aaron Rodgers, but I think it's going to be Levis again. I really think that they should ride it out and stink and build the team up to where next year you get Arch Manning or whatever, which I think would be very popular in Nashville, by the way, but because of the whole Peyton Manning connection with Tennessee. But anyways, you get Arch Manning, Cade Klubnik, Avery Johnson, Drew Aller, whatever it is. If you don't like if you have any questions about the quarterback stuff, just ride it out. And I feel like Borgonzi should be. I understand you want to win now, but if you think that you have to really, you can't listen to the outside noise of, well, they stink again, they should get rid of the coach or whatever history says. If you think Callahan is the right head coach, then you got to deal with whatever happens this year and ride it out one more time, because until they take a quarterback, he's never really getting a fair shot anyways.
All right, coming up next, we'll get back to college basketball. We'll get a national perspective on Kansas and Missouri's chance in the Big 12 tournament, SEC tournament. Plus, is it really just about Auburn and Duke at this point in time? John Martin from the Field of 68 stops by next.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for K-State Athletics. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Call Aspen Lawn and Pest Control. Our iconic blue trucks and expert team get it right the first time. Award-winning full-service lawn care and pest control since 1985. Call today for a free estimate. Visit aspenlawn.com.
This week, FanDuel is bringing you a Dog of the Day Profit Boost token. One of the best parts about the tourney is when an underdog takes down a powerhouse. And right now, those upsets can get even better, because if your underdog bet wins, you'll land even more winnings with a Profit Boost. This is your chance to ride with the long shots, the scrappy teams, the ones that refuse to go quietly. If you've been waiting to join FanDuel, there's no better time. The app's easy to use, and when you win, you'll get paid instantly. Just visit FanDuel.com/Alex to download America's #1 sportsbook today and back your dog of the day with a profit boost. Because after all, anything can happen in March. FanDuel is the official partner of 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. Opt-in required. Wager of at least plus 100 odds required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
It's here, Kansas City Northland, your new Academy Sports and Outdoor store. Now open at 9130 Northwest Skyview Avenue. Don't miss our grand opening celebration, Friday, March 14th through Sunday, March 16th. Plus, shop grand opening deals starting Thursday, March 13th at your new Kansas City Northland store and at your Liberty, Overland Park, Olathe, and Belton stores. The first 150 customers in line when the store opens this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 18 and over, get a free mystery gift card with over $15,000 in total weekend prizes. Kick off the Royal season with 96.5 The Fan at Hollywood Casino. Join us for an exclusive 96.5 The Fan roundtable featuring Michael Massey, Josh Vernier, and other special guests on March 28th at 6 p.m. Don't miss your chance to get insider insights before the season begins.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the dogs out? Spruce, spruce, spruce.
It's Spruce, the new hard-working, worry-free weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people and pets. When used as directed, spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Weeds die by the next day. Find Spruce wherever weed killers are sold.
A great lawn is like a great sports team. It takes expertise and a little extra care to really stand out. That's where True Green comes in. They're the official lawn care treatment provider of the PGA Tour, so they know a thing or two about keeping grass looking like a fairway. Here's the best part. It's more affordable than you think, and they'll even match any competitor's price. Plus, True Green backs it all up with a satisfaction guarantee. Not happy? They'll come back between visits to make it right. Don't wait. Head to truegreen.com today. Let the pros do the work while you sit back and enjoy the results.
Welcome to TGL, presented by SoFi, golf's newest league, live on ESPN and ESPN Plus. It's 2 hours of hammer-dropping, overtime forcing, playoffs on the line golf, Tiger, Rory, and more of the best from the PGA Tour, split into 6 teams. Learn more at TGLGolf.com. Tune in every week for TGL matches. Keep up, it's golf.
This is the story of the one. He's responsible for keeping a leading healthcare facility clean and safe. And he trusts Grainger's high-quality HVAC cleaning and safety products, combined with their world-class supply chain, to consistently deliver, ensuring he's covered inside and out, so he can focus on keeping his facility clean to help protect the health of everyone inside. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Thank you for making Total Wine & More America's #1 online source for spirits, beer, and wine. Better than all those delivery apps. Total Wine's prices are up to 30% lower with super fast delivery and no hidden fees. Order direct at TotalWine.com and pay less today.
Drink responsibly, B21.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
What would you do if you could go back in time with the tap of a button?
Watch the ancient Egyptians build the pyramids?
How'd they do it?
Buy enough Bitcoin to purchase your very own private island.
Or maybe just skip the joke that flopped at the holiday party.
Unfortunately, we haven't figured out how to rewind time. But you can rewind live shows with the free Odyssey app.
Never miss your favorite sports talk again. To get started, download Odyssey and search for your station.
The technicians you can trust with your house keys. Anthony Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric.
Money-back guarantees and parts and labor warranties mean you're not just buying products, you're securing your investment. For a limited time, receive a free furnace when you purchase an AC. Schedule a complimentary proposal online at anthonyphce.com.
Opening day coverage is brought to you by Hollywood Casino. Stop by Hollywood Casino every Wednesday in March from 12 until 2 to register for your chance to win opening day tickets. Your home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan. You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Just getting started here on a Thursday. It's Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. We'll get back into the NFL here in about 12 minutes or so. Latest on the Steelers situation. We talked about Mason Rudolph signing there, but where could Aaron Rodgers end up? There's some other speculation about a destination that to me just wouldn't make any sense in regards to his future. That's coming up in a bit. But let's keep talking some college basketball. Big 12 tournament tips off again today in about an hour from now with Iowa State in action, taking on BYU. Then later on tonight, the Kansas Jayhawks will take on the Arizona Wildcats. And then also this evening, Missouri Tigers in the SEC tournament, taking on Mississippi State. So a lot to get into. And we welcome in John Martin, analyst for the Field of 68. He's a sports talk host on ESPN 92.9 in Memphis. John, good to have you on the show, man. I wanted to just get your perspective, starting with the locals for a second. We can talk broader about college basketball. But when you look at Missouri, for example, tonight in the SEC tournament, what chance do you give them to possibly go on a run the way they're playing right now, where seemingly that defense has just become a big problem?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing is, I appreciate you guys having me on. The first thing is obviously great job and a credit to Dennis Gates for turning this thing around. I mean, it looked really, really bad a year ago. You didn't win a single game in the SEC. So the arrow was definitely pointing down, but sometimes in the transfer portal era, man, you just have a bad crop, you just get a bad mix of players, or even one bad apple can ruin the bunch. And it's hard to kind of know that, before the season starts, right? Until guys get in practice and get into game situations, like you don't know. But that's the new world that you have to navigate. And I think Dennis has definitely done a good job of identifying, a new crop, brings in Mark Mitchell, who has been unbelievable. I mean, I think beyond anybody's wildest dreams how good he's been. Obviously, I think about that Alabama game where, I mean, that was as good a game as anybody's played in college basketball this year. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, though, I think it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough for them to make a run in this SEC tournament, just because their draw. I mean, they gotta obviously beat a Mississippi State team that has slid down the stretch, but did win resoundingly last night. But if you win tonight, then you're rewarded with a game against Florida, a potential 1 seed. So I don't really think anybody's beating them in this tournament. So I think that's the hesitation I have with Missouri. They're just kind of running into it with their draw this week.
If they were to go, let's say, on it, is it just like Mark Mitchell's got to have those kind of games multiple times in a row, or do you think there's someone further down they can rely on? And look, they're a pretty even scoring team across the board, but like, is it Mark Mitchell's just got to go on one of those like guard type runs in an SEC tournament?
Yeah, I mean, you have that. I mean, obviously, you guys saw Caleb Grill in that Alabama game was just kind of throwing it into the ocean. Like, it didn't really matter where he was on the floor. It didn't matter. I don't even think he was looking at the rim in the second half. Like, it was just everything he put up was going in. So it could be something like that. I mean, it could be Caleb Grill just having a week, obviously, in Nashville. That is certainly possible, especially with somebody that can shoot the ball as well as he can. So, I think just the thing with Missouri that they've got to show is that they could do it, outside of Columbia. They've been elite there. They've been elite all season long in Columbia. Can you do it, for multiple games outside? I think that's going to be the question this week, and it's going to be the question, obviously, in the NCAA tournament.
What about the Kansas Jayhawks? This is a team that was preseason #1 all the way back, and I've told you, the guys here locally know as well, like, just I can't stand preseason rankings and AP polls anyway, but obviously way off when it came to Kansas. Last night's game, great, entertaining contest, goes to overtime against UCF, but that was a perfect encapsulation, I think, at times of what this Kansas team has been. Unable to finish out games and having to go to overtime against an NIT team. And there were some positives in there with A.J. Storr for the first time all year, but what do you give them in terms of tonight's chances against an Arizona team they beat a week ago?
Yeah, not much of one. I don't like this Kansas team at all. I think they're extremely limited. I don't, listen, like I get it. They were preseason number one. People were wrong. We were wrong about them. That's the bottom line. And like I've seen people like put on social media, like, man, now is the time to buy low on Kansas. And I'm just like, for what? Like, for why? I'm just wasting money. I mean, where's the efficiency in 2025? I don't want to buy this team at all. I don't want to buy them at any price. I just think they're bad. I don't know why that is. Like, maybe it's because you have multiple 25-year-olds who are still playing college basketball. They're not in the NBA. Did anybody ever consider that there might be a reason for that? I think that's kind of what you're dealing with Kansas. Bill Self brought a couple guys in the portal. Zeke Mayo's been pretty good. Rylan Griffin's been inconsistent. A.J. Storr is basically like not rolled over once, except like you mentioned for last night. So I think that probably looms large. They're just not a deep team. They're not a deep team, and their upside to me is extremely limited. So even if they win tonight, which I don't think they will, this team isn't going anywhere. I mean, they're going to be home. They're going to be in Cancun after the first weekend. I have no doubt about it.
From a broader perspective, do you buy into the well, this is just Bill Self, like some of the other guys who just got the hell out of the sport, not adjusting to NIL now a couple of years into it. Obviously, he wanted like year 1 or 2 of NIL, but as things have gone on, just like you mentioned earlier, bad crop of recruits that just went south kind of in a hurry. Because this is the weirdest thing about this is it's a Bill Self team in which the guards have gotten worse. That historically has not been the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of have seen this a couple of different places, like UConn, for example. They didn't really do a ton in the portal after winning the title last year because they thought like, hey, we've got a couple of guys that didn't play as much, but now we think they're going to take steps because they're going to get reps, and that hasn't really happened. I think doubling down on guys that you've had in your program, just hoping that they take steps. I don't know if that's totally the case. I think it kind of is with KJ Adams. Like, he has this weird fetish with KJ Adams that he just can't quit. I think KJ Adams is a decent player. I don't think he's better than Badunga, though, for example. And for whatever reason, he's just been insistent on KJ Adams, man. So I don't know if it's necessarily like, the new wave as much as it has kind of been Bill's stubbornness about this core. I'm in Memphis, and one of the things that Penny had to have happen to be successful is all his kids that he coached in high school at East, they had to graduate for him to really take off. He brought them to Memphis, and they were just limited, and he couldn't see, right? He couldn't see through the emotional attachment to the players that they weren't good enough. And I think for Bill, what he needs to get through is the Hunter Dickinson and KJ Adams era because it's holding them back.
We're talking to John Martin, analyst for the Field of 68. He also is a sports talk host in Memphis for ESPN 92.9. All right, Auburn, Duke, clearly the two best teams in the country. Can we still say that? Is it them in the field? Where do you stand with those two teams? In Florida, I guess, is now a team we have to consider being in that same group, or no?
Yeah, I mean, I know we do this every year, but I think the 4-1s right now are as strong as we've seen in a long time. I don't really know what the weakness is for any of them. I know Houston will have this perception of, well, they can't shoot. But, like, this is Kelvin's best offensive team ever. They're awesome. And guess what? They're still number 2 defensively. So it hasn't come at the expense of that. Florida is kind of the same way. Like, Florida can make a shot from anywhere on the floor with Walter Clayton. They have 3 different bigs they can throw at you that are awesome. 4 sometimes, right? Now, if they're all healthy. And then, Auburn is – the only thing that worries me about Auburn, I actually might think Auburn is the most vulnerable, most susceptible here because their emotional intelligence lacks quite a bit. I mean, we see that with Chad Baker-Mazara, and they are, a team that, I just feel like can run into a situation where if it's a chippy game, somebody gets ejected or, commits a flagrant 2 or something along those lines. Like, I just question that. I don't question that with Duke. I don't question that with Florida, and I don't question that with Houston. So of the 4, I think weirdly, even though metrically maybe they've rated the best throughout the year, Auburn seems like the one that's most likely to maybe get picked off here.
You had mentioned UConn earlier, so I'm just curious. Since they're the back-to-back national champion, should anyone fear them? I think the most recent seed line's like 8-9. Do you kind of hate getting them if you're a 1 seed, or is it just like, it's not a good UConn team, we're fine?
Yeah, I think, you'd fear him if they had Donovan Clingan and Stephon Castle and Tristan Newton, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think you fear Hassan Diarra and Samson Johnson and, the inconsistent Alex Caravan. I don't think you fear that. I mean, obviously, look, they're live because Dan Hurley's a great coach and he's going to scheme his way into being competitive, but I mean, he doesn't have the horses this year. So no, I think you look at it UConn's an 8 and they earned that. They earned the 8. This year with the way they played. So I don't think they're striking fear into the 1 seeds this season by any stretch of the imagination.
John Martin, analyst for the Field of 68. Appreciate the time, man. I know you got a show to do, so thanks for hopping on.
Hey, thanks, fellas. Appreciate it anytime.
There you go, John Martin. Good stuff from him talking about the college basketball slate today a little bit with Kansas and Missouri, and ultimately looking ahead a little bit to next week. And, of course, Selection Sunday, just a couple days away, and what teams are going to be the popular picks already. And everybody has heard about Auburn and Duke all year, but maybe Florida and Houston or some other teams to keep an eye on.
See how the Big 12 and SEC tournaments go for them. Of course, our Big 12 tournament coverage on 96.5 The Fan is brought to you by Twin Peaks Eats, Drinks, Scenic Views. He does not like your Jayhawks, Gold. He said they stink.
Well, they have for much of the year.
Stink.
They have for much of the year.
They have not been a good basketball team. They didn't look good last night. I walked out of that game the same way as we mentioned, the Kansas State game the night before, where I'm like, cool, you didn't lose to the inferior opponent, but I didn't like what I saw.
Defensively,
or anything,
no. Offensively, it wasn't. Defensively, it was pitiful. Again, perimeter defense has been a problem for them all year, and they're going to have to play a hell of a lot better against Arizona. I understand they beat them last Saturday. That was senior day. It was at Allen Fieldhouse. I don't think it's this. Oh my gosh, there's no way it's not like he's giving them 0% chance to win tonight. I think
0% chance to get out of the first weekend in the NCAA.
Well, that's probably a fair. I'm saying to say they have a 0% chance to win tonight. I disagree with that. Right now they're a 1.5 point underdog. If I had to throw money on it, if I was forced to, I would probably take Arizona. But I don't think it's like this. Oh my gosh, it's just David versus Goliath kind of thing going on tonight.
No, I think I view it like the Kansas State game last night. I give Kansas a 40-45%. It's a 50-50 game, but not the 50 in their favor, right? I got to give enough percentage points to be like 55-45.
Yeah, it's a higher level matchup in general, right? It's Kansas and Arizona versus Baylor, who now probably has solidified a tournament spot. If Baylor would have lost to K-State, Baylor might have been out of the NCAA tournament. There was a chance of that.
Yeah, for whatever reason, the thing that I keep coming back to is the weight, and I know that John, I think, is spot on in the fact that the 1 seeds collectively it's a better field of talent at the top than we've had in recent years. But it's March, man. I just think there's always something where
crazy stuff, man.
You just survive an advance where, look, if KU ends up being a 6 seed and they beat VCU or whoever is the 11 seed and they win by 1 point, it doesn't matter because they won by 1 point. They could go on to beat the 3 after that or whatever the case is. If they're a 6 seed, I think that they could get out of the first weekend. If they're a 5, I think they definitely could. It all depends on where they're seated at. Because if they're a 7, they have to face a 2. The top of the cream of the crop in terms of seeding is so good where they'd have a hard time getting out of it. But it just depends on where you sit.
Game tonight's big on that swing where you're talking about between the 6.
Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll get the latest on Bobby Witt Jr.'s scare yesterday. Hit by pitch in the forearm. He sent out some tweets. Appears to be fine. Fesco had an update on it today. We're expected to hear from Matt Quattrero a little bit later on in the show as well. To one more update and where things stand with him. So we'll get to that in about 15 minutes or so. But we mentioned Mason Rudolph had signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers on a small 2-year, $8 million deal. Most likely to be a backup, but we're obviously joking a little bit because right now he is the only quarterback under contract in Pittsburgh because they're waiting on Aaron Rodgers. The latest thing there is that he might have interest in going to the Minnesota Vikings, and you and I were both trying to figure out
why for them,
other than just trying to go right down the Brett Favre path, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, what is he, like one illicit photo and a welfare scam away from completing the full Brett Favre career?
I mean, pretty close.
I mean, if he goes to Minnesota, those are the only 2 things he's short: to send a text message he shouldn't to some staff members and then to commit welfare fraud in the state of Mississippi, and then he'll be good to go on the full Brett Favre arc. It's not even about that. It's not about, being with the same 3 teams, landing in the same 3 areas. I understand why Aaron Rodgers would find Minnesota appealing. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. I think Kevin O'Connell is one of the better coaches in the league. There's a reason why that should be attractive. Minnesota, don't do this. Don't do this. You got all this momentum. You're well coached. You're winning games 2 of the last 3 years under Kevin O'Connell. You got a legitimate Coach of the Year candidate most years. You drafted a first-round quarterback. I know he's hurt. I know that comes with some risk. I know you'd like a veteran backup you could trust. This is not that case, though. If they sign Aaron Rodgers, it's to let him start while they let J.J. McCarthy sit another 2 years. And as much as Jordan Love is a good NFL quarterback.
Oh, I don't know about 2 years.
but like at least a year.
Yeah.
But the problem is like you sign a veteran quarterback and you stalled this thing. Jordan Love's a good quarterback. But you got no advantage of the rookie quarterback on the rookie deal because of how long you took to get him in the lineup. You wait 2 full years on J.J. McCarthy? His injury should get him back by near the beginning of the year. I think you roll with the guy you drafted, unless you think he just stinks. And even then, I wouldn't do Aaron Rodgers because it's too messy.
Well, they walked on Darnold, so they obviously don't think J.J. McCarthy stinks. I think the question is just where is his overall development at this point in time? Are they confident he can step right in week 1? What I don't get, other than Aaron Rodgers playing the attention game, which we know, say what you will about him, anything else, like we can all, I think, agree. He loves attention. That's who he is. That's just been established. Why is he not running to sign with the Steelers? You are at the end of your career. Very few teams are interested.
They're
you can walk
franchise.
in, have nobody threatening to take your job. You would be the starting quarterback. You have some weapons there. You have a really good head coach. A team that's been in the playoffs. They're hoping you can take them past that, obviously, but they're a playoff team every year with Mike Tomlin, right? Like I don't get why you're not running to take the Steelers job if you're Aaron Rodgers.
Because he thinks the Vikings' offense is better, but tough.
Yeah, but I think ultimately he likes the attention, and he likes being in the spot that he's in right now, and that everybody is talking about him. And you got some weird photos of him walking on the beach with the blanket wrapped around him yesterday that People magazine or somebody put out there. He likes this.
I don't know. I wonder if you got to think that he has some sort of inclination that the Vikings would have him in as a starter. He's almost just waiting on that job. It sounds like if you were to rank the jobs, I think Minnesota's the better one. Obviously,
other than the fact there's somebody waiting right behind you to snipe your job away.
Yeah, but isn't that's if he went to Pittsburgh, it was always going to be that way, likely anyways, where he plays maybe 2 seasons, where it's his career.
He's going to retire, but we're saying like in this upcoming year in Pittsburgh, Mason Rudolph's not taking the job from Aaron Rodgers.
No, but if Aaron Rodgers has a bad month, he's done, and J.J. McCarthy's the starter.
He
could lose his job in a month.
I guess so. It just depends on what the Vikings decide to do. But I don't. To me, and I don't know if this is just where I like Aaron Rodgers maybe more than most people, but I don't think that. I don't think he would have a bad season with like the team is too good for him to play poorly. I just think that. I think he's bad with the Jets. He just wasn't what Aaron Rodgers normally is.
He's an average quarterback now. He's an average quarterback.
But the Pittsburgh one is legitimately, out of any of the available options in the entire NFL, it's like the only semi-decent fit anymore for Aaron Rodgers. Like, it's the only one that kind of makes sense. A head coach who won't let you run the show, a GM who won't let you run the show. You have wide receivers right now in Pickens and Metcalf. Yeah, they got to rework the offensive line a little bit. They're a playoff team every year. They're a winning team every year. Like, you're not having to reset or refix a Jets franchise that's been broken forever. Like, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, borderline dream scenario is being offered that Pittsburgh Steelers job. I'm with Gold. I can't believe you wouldn't want it. Yeah, the weapons are better in Minnesota, but again, you could lose your job there. And you're not even guaranteed that job. They might not sign you. They might not be interested. It's like there's I don't know. I don't even know what the apt comparison is for real life, but I mean, that job is there. Be like, Gold's turning down 9s at the bar because the 10 he thinks might still be interested.
That actually is
like,
a really good comparison.
What are you doing, dude? She's a 9. Just take the date.
Except
That's a good comp.
Except in this case, the Steelers, for all the talk about them being held hostage, the Steelers, there's nobody else. I still don't believe that ultimately, like, that they would pivot to, right? So, like, the talk of, well, the Steelers, man, they got to wait for Rodgers to make his decision. They're going to be caught with their pants down, as Cody would say yesterday, and you don't want to be that, and they're going to have no quarterback. I just don't like it's Aaron Rodgers or bust at this time at this point anyway, right? Like they're not. Russell Wilson has taken visits to Cleveland and he's taken visits to the Giants reportedly. There's no other team. Like maybe you guys buy the Viking report, but in my mind, there's no other team competing for Rodgers anymore. So it's basically like Aaron Rodgers to me is picking you or nobody. I know we just said there's a report that he likes maybe the Vikings. I just don't buy that.
But
I just
the
don't
report's
know.
not the Vikings like him.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Never, ever, ever Get caught with your pants down. That was Brett Favre. That's the next path. You know, like, again, if he continues this.
The Jen Sturger text, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am a little bit surprised that the Steelers signed Mason Rudolph only because, I mean, that maybe that shows you that they're not confident that they're going to get Aaron in the first place, and they need some sort of a plan because they're too high to draft a quarterback. You know, Jackson Dart might be off the board by the time we get to Pittsburgh, depending on what teams want to do.
Steelers, Aaron Rodgers is not a long-term solution anyway. He could play great this year. He's not playing 4 years from now in the NFL. So, I mean, this is a 1 and 2 year thing as far as I'm concerned with Pittsburgh anyway. This is just, once again, you're hoping that somehow Rodgers can elevate you from being a wild card one and done to getting you to an AFC title game or something.
Might be a Carson Wentz, Mason Rudolph quarterback battle there in Pittsburgh if Aaron Rodgers doesn't go there. Ugh. I'm not kidding. That's a serious thing.
Sign the rest of the AFC North up for that, please.
Yeah, my guess is what Drew was saying.
And they'll still go 9-8.
I know.
Tomlin will give him the 9. Tomlin will give him the 9 wins.
He always finds a way, man. He just always finds a way. It doesn't make any sense, but.
So if the Browns, let's say the Browns sign Russell Wilson, they're not drafting a quarterback then, correct?
No, they should. Their fans don't even want Russell
Wilson.
Wilson.
They would have Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, and Kenny Pickett would be the quarterback room. If that happened.
I know, but there's no way that they draft a guy and with their second overall pick. If they sign Russell Wilson, I don't think they unless they're the mess of an organization that we think that they are.
Well, they are. They are.
Or also, we know that they are.
If you're picking number 2 and your current quarterback is a sexual assaulter who's been hurt for the entire year and is now an accused sexual assaulter, maybe. I don't know. He settled
Forget that part. He stinks.
Yeah, just look at the football only even for a second. He's not a good quarterback.
He can't get on the field, and he's a $90 million cap hit. I'd be looking at quarterback. I can't believe some of these teams at the top of the draft like kick around the idea of like, I think maybe we just take like Abdul Carter. You're like, no, you can't play quarterback. You could have you could have Myles Garrett and Abdul Carter wrecking things for people next. If you're starting Kenny Pickett, there is no amount of. If you're starting Russell Wilson, there's no amount of saving your team.
It goes back to every year when there's maybe perceived to be a weaker QB draft class. Like if you don't like the quarterback, though, don't draft the quarterback. You know, I know it sounds so simple. Like it doesn't matter if you got to take him. I get in a simple world, yes, but I mean, ultimately, if you're Cleveland or any team. Let's take Cleveland out because their decision-making process has obviously not been good for decades.
And they can't evaluate a quarterback. So maybe if you don't like him, that tells you something. You should like him.
Right, but if your team, so that's why I say you got to take Cleveland's history. Like, I'm talking about any team because this conversation comes up every single year where it's like you have to take the quarterback. If you don't love the quarterback, though, I'm not saying you're right by not, but like if you don't love the quarterback, you shouldn't draft the quarterback because once you draft him, you are saying you're at least with that guy for 2 or 3 years if you're that team, and if you didn't like him, then you're stuck. And that GM obviously, is tied to that quarterback, et cetera. If you're picking number 2 in this year's class, like I think Shedeur Sanders is actually going to end up being better than Cam Ward. So like if I was Cleveland, yes, I would do what you're saying. But I don't think it's this unique thing to Cleveland where a team may not fall in love with a quarterback. And you shouldn't draft the quarterback if you don't actually believe in him. That would be silly too.
I guess yes, but like if you're even on the fence, quarterback evaluation, teams will admit this. Quarterback evaluation is incredibly fickle, and teams are wrong all the time, and it's very, very, very difficult position. So if you're like, I don't know if I really like Cam, we're tough. You're picking 2 and you have no quarterback. I do think in that scenario, bite the bullet and take the risk.
You're saying
because that's still better than the alternative, which is I'm going to pick Russell Wilson and Kenny Pickett against each other because I know that stinks. If you're not sure on Cam Ward, I'd rather just not be sure or not like Cam Ward than start Russell Wilson and Kenny Pickett.
So you're on the side of you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so you might as well take the shot at said quarterback.
I'm just saying the other shot already missed. Like you can either put up the air ball 3 with Russell Wilson and Kenny Pickett, or you can at least put up a 3, and I'm not sure it's an air ball. You might draw some iron. Shot could go in. The other one already missed. You sent it Michael Scott through the end of the gymnasium. It can't hit. Like, I mean, that's it for me. It's just like it has no chance of being a make versus at least the other side you can.
Yeah, I get. Look, we've had this discussion. I think in years past. Like I think if it was up to you, a lot of these teams you would just draft 3 quarterbacks every year and just hope one hits.
If I were one of the bad teams, I might take 2. I might do like 3 is crazy, but I might do the Washington way and take RG3 and then Kirk.
And like I get that for the most part. We just know that's not how the league operates. And for the sake of a lot of these GMs' jobs and the timeline that they have, like if I'm the general manager of a team and I don't like the quarterback that's there at number 2, I'm not taking it just because I can say, well, maybe it works out. That's just not how, I don't think that's how these GMs think, because the minute that GM usually is only getting one quarterback to draft. So if I'm the GM of Cleveland, I think it's Barry or whatever, Andrew Barry, if I draft the quarterback at 2, and I know, like in my mind, I think he sucks, and I draft him, I don't like him, and he does in fact suck, I can't go to, guys, you guys told me to draft quarterbacks I didn't really like him anyway. No, you're fired. Your ass is out of town anyway. So I understand you got to, ultimately, they have failed
I think you're
miserably.
getting fired if you start Kenny Pickett. So, I just think you're getting fired either
obviously
way.
Not, because obviously not. I mean, they've given him the security. I mean, like, he's
untouchable.
He did the Deshaun Watson contract. He still got a job today.
That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. That's your own doing.
Up next, guys, let's get back to some baseball. The latest update from Fesco this morning on Bobby Witt Jr. We're also expected to hear from Matt Quatraro. A close call, it looks like. Things are going to probably be working out for Bobby Witt Jr. long term. And we'll talk more about the Missouri Tigers, who have an SEC tournament game tonight.
You're listening to Cody and Gold, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. Josh Vernier joins the show every day at 12:45, live from spring training, right here on your home for Royals baseball. 96.5, The Fan.
This week, FanDuel's bringing you a Dog of the Day Profit Boost token. One of the best parts about the tourney is when an underdog takes down a powerhouse. And right now, those upsets can get even better because if your underdog bet wins, you'll land even more winnings with a profit boost. That's your chance to ride with the long shots, the scrappy teams, the ones that refuse to go quietly. If you've been waiting to join FanDuel, there's no better time. The app is easy to use, and when you win, you're going to get paid instantly. Just visit FanDuel.com/Alex to download America's #1 sportsbook today and back your Dog of the Day with a profit boost. Because after all, anything can happen in March. FanDuel is the official partner of 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. Opt-in required. Wager of at least plus 100 odds required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Men, this is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health. The one you love is the light of your life. And if you're like most of us, you want to do whatever you can to nurture your relationship. But if you're suffering with erectile dysfunction, you know the impacts the condition is likely having on you and your partner. ED is a relationship destroyer. It can contribute to depression, distancing, conflicts, and even breakups and divorce. And what's so disturbing about this is that most men who suffer with ED can be successfully treated, but a lot of guys don't seek treatment when they should. At Heartland Men's Health, we have protocols that are effective in well over 90% of cases. In fact, if you're like most guys, you could be having great sex within a day or two of your first appointment, and maybe find you're performing like you haven't in a long time. So call Heartland Men's Health today. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. We have 3 offices, Overland Park, Independence, and North Kansas City.
I love saving money, and Hy-Vee is always helping my family fight inflation. Not only has Hy-Vee lowered prices all over the store, they also help me save a ton of money on gas. In fact, multiple times in the last few months, I've saved over $1 per gallon with Hy-Vee fuel savers. I love seeing the price on the pump drop dramatically each time I fill up. This Saturday and Sunday, save 30 cents per gallon on gas with every $60 you spend on groceries. Stack up the savings. The more you spend, the more you'll save on your next fill-up, only at Hy-Vee.
Hy-Vee's new fresh fried donuts are pure melt-in-your-mouth happiness with icing on top. Fresh out of the fryer every morning, you'll fall in love at first bite. Mix and match your favorite glazed donuts, donut holes, fritters, twists, cream-filled Long John, sprinkles, and gourmet delights. Pick up a dozen today. You'll be the hero of the morning meeting, queen of the book club, classroom parent of the year. Sweeten someone's day with decadent fresh fried donuts only from Hy-Vee.
I'm McCall with Lee Summit Subaru, and it's time to make a big deal out of nothing. Announcing Lee Summit Subaru's 0% event. Zero, like in 0% financing. Zero is back. Up to 0% financing on select 2024 and 2025 Subaru models for 72 months. And we're 2024 Google's highest review rated and only locally owned Subaru retailer in Kansas City. 0% event. The Subaru A Lot to Love event at Lee Summit Subaru.
Google highest review rated Subaru retailer in Kansas City based on Google Analytics.
Hey, it's Dick Ray. Why do they call us the heating, AC, and plumbing magician? We show up on time, diagnose and fix the problem quickly without breaking the bank. And now we have our own madness going on in March with our Dick Ray BOGO deal. Schedule a $99 AC tune-up by March 31st and receive your furnace tune-up next fall for free. Come on, sing it with me.
Call Dick Ray, he's your cooling magician. Dick Ray, he's a man on a mission.
Hey, it's Gold once again telling you about the amazing staff at Max Motors. They're going to take care of you, and it's springtime. Why not spring into a brand new vehicle at Max Motors, like the new 2025 Ram 1500, up to 15% off MSRP plus 1.9% for 72 months. Stock number S250016. Must finance with dealer lender. Offer expires 4/1/25. Max Motors has the best financing options available with the max trade-in values in the Midwest. Max Motors, the easiest place to buy a car. MaxMotors.com.
This is the story of the one. He's responsible for keeping a leading healthcare facility clean and safe. And he trusts Grainger's high-quality HVAC cleaning and safety products, combined with their world-class supply chain, to consistently deliver, ensuring he's covered inside and out, so he can focus on keeping his facility clean to help protect the health of everyone inside. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, cause you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Welcome to TGL, presented by SoFi, golf's newest league, live on ESPN and ESPN Plus. It's 2 hours of hammer dropping, overtime forcing, playoffs on the line golf, Tiger, Rory, and more of the best from the PGA Tour, split into 16. Learn more at TGLGolf.com. Tune in every week for TGL matches. Keep up, it's golf.
This is the story of the one. He's responsible for keeping a leading healthcare facility clean and safe. And he trusts Grainger's high-quality HVAC cleaning and safety products, combined with their world-class supply chain, to consistently deliver, ensuring he's covered inside and out, so he can focus on keeping his facility clean to help protect the health of everyone inside. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Thank you for making Total Wine & More America's #1 online source for spirits, beer, and wine. Better than all those delivery apps. Total Wine's prices are up to 30% lower with super fast delivery and no hidden fees. Order direct at TotalWine.com and pay less today.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Go to 965thefan.com for the Fiery Hot Sevens contest, where you can win a $30 instant scratch ticket, and one person will win the grand prize, a Bobby Witt Jr. autographed jersey and framing. All thanks to our friends at the Kansas Lottery.
Hey, it's Vern. Catch me every day with Cody and Gold at 12:45 for a live update from Arizona as I'm with the boys in blue at spring training. This is your home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan, KFNZ FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, in Odyssey Sports Station.
11 o'clock hour here. It's Cody and Gold. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. Keep an eye on the Big 12 tournament, which will tip off again today in about 25 minutes. We'll get to some scoreboard updates. Also, the SEC tournament is underway, but Missouri will not be playing until later on this evening, so we won't have any updates on that. But we do want to talk about the Missouri Tigers here in just a bit. An update that we heard earlier today on Fesco in the morning was around Bobby Witt Jr. There was a scare last night for about, I would call like a half hour, 45 minutes or so. You saw the initial report. I think it was Andy Rogers who had the first report out there that Bobby Witt Jr. was hit by a pitch, left the game. And at the time, I think her report said maybe left hand or wrist. You're like, oh, boy. Oh, no. Then the Royals tweeted out that he is being evaluated for a forearm issue or strain, or we didn't know what it was, right? Then later on, x-rays came back negative. Bobby Witt Jr. gave a thumbs up and prayer emoji. Vinny then quote tweets it with a photo of Bobby Witt Jr. tweeting that tweet. And he's just been getting all the scoop this week.
Yeah, no kidding. He says he's using his left hand.
He's got all of it. And then Fesco this morning said he's here, 5 to 6 days, I think, or something is what they're expecting. Crisis averted. Disaster diverted.
If you watch the video of him coming off the field, and he said he lost feeling in it for a little bit. Oh, no, beaten. Mm-hmm. It was a scary 30 minutes. Not like I hope. It's he'll be further evaluated. I don't like hearing that. It was just a reminder of like how healthy they've been this spring training and how quickly that luck could run out if just one wrong pitch went wrong way. Put him in bubble wrap. I don't need to see him take another spring training at bat. 5 or 6 days. That only leaves a couple more spring training days. Go ahead and take those too, Bobby. And we'll talk to you 2 weeks from today at opening day here at the K when the Royals open up their season for the 3:10 first pitch right here on 96.5 The Fan. I'd like Bobby Witt Jr. being like, I was terrified. Kudos to Vinny. And I saw some other people just calling him a Vinsider in general. I was like, you know what? Glad we stuck with that early on. Vinsider's a great title, so I appreciate his levity in the situation. But yeah, man, I was genuinely fearful that they might lose Bobby Witt Jr. And like we all know, ranking the players you can afford to lose for even a month in the season, he's one. Cole Reagans is probably 2. And then there's a bunch of guys after that, but they're not those 2. Not your number one starter and not Bobby Witt Jr. It's crazy, man, because like baseball is just like one errant fastball. And spring training is scary because a lot of people have errant fastballs in spring training.
Right, and in the regular season, this is the broader topic about the rotation, how healthy they were. And only Michael Walker, I believe, had an IL stint. Michael Lorenzen got hurt a little bit later on in the year, but that's you're looking for unfortunate areas that you have to be prepared for regression. The chances of staying as healthy as they were a year ago are pretty slim. As far as the hit by the pitch yesterday for Bobby Witt Jr., you're right. I mean, that can happen to anybody at any given time. You just don't know, and you hope that A, it doesn't happen, but B, you get lucky that it just hits you in the right spot. That's not gonna cause a fracture in a wrist or a bone. Obviously, we know about the Vinny Pasquantino situation last year, where that was also a fluky thing when he was just fielding. So I mean, it can happen to anybody, but fortunately, it's not the case. As far as I'm concerned, yeah, they can just not play him for 2 weeks. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like just go ahead and put him in bubble wrap until opening day, and I'm fine with that. I think we're good to go there on the Bobby Witt Jr. being ready for the start of the season. I don't need to have anything else happen at this point in time for him.
If Q says anything different, anything worth note or fear, we'll bring it to you in What's Trending at noon. He's going to speak to the media to our Josh Vernier and Andy Rogers down there in Surprise at 11:45. So when he talks, if he says, actually, we're thinking, we'll make sure it's in there. But the fact that it was negative last night, I think Jeff Passan was the first one to report it last night. I'm like, okay, phew. And then you're like, but no timetable to return. What are we thinking? Now we're hearing a week? Okay, a week. I can deal with that. That's a number that at least makes sense. Not going to slow him down before spring training. But yeah, there's a reason to you watch these spring training games and you're just like, please don't get hurt. Anything but hurt. That's also why I don't like spring training being 6 weeks long. I know that there's reasons why they say you need it and the ramp up and a million other things. And I'm sure there's even a little bit of truth to it, right? It's like we could do a month. We'd be an opening day by now. Bobby Witt Jr. be fine.
Yeah.
Instead of taking a fastball to the forearm.
This one was a real thing because, as you said, he lost feeling. But also, as you remember from covering it,
spring training, so much as feeling.
I mean, if Bobby Witt Jr. got a bug bite and he's like, it's kind of itchy, they're like, we'll just take you out, let you go handle that and get some Benadryl and just take care of it.
Put a little calamine on there. People say that for bug bites.
I don't know, but yeah, minor. If it's a starting player and there's anything that doesn't feel right or didn't look right, there's no reason to keep said player in.
No, but in this case, it's like he would have probably come out of a regular season game.
Although some of the folks that were there on site said that before he even went to talk to Bobby, he being Matt Quatrero, he was already pulling him out of the game. Like, before he even went to talk to him. So, like, he was like, all right, you got hit.
Get the hell out of here.
You're out. We don't need to have you out here. And fortunately, we can joke about it now because he's going to be fine.
Did you feel even better when Vinny sent the photo out and you could see he's using both hands?
I thought it was funny.
Did you feel better?
I definitely thought it was funny, yes. And everybody's first reaction was like, you can't get him an ice pack? Put some ice on that, just in case.
Get him something from the freezer. Be a good teammate.
Someone's like, oh, you're babysitting Bobby. That's nice.
Yeah.
Where do you think they are? Whose house do you think they were at this?
It looked like a nice couch.
I assume that was at Bobby's. I'm guessing if you're Bobby Witt Jr. and you just got somewhat hurt, you probably are going back to your place.
And you're just like, hey, Vinny, you want to get a beer?
Or maybe Vinny was just walking with him. Who knows, right? Yeah.
I'm just curious. The guy knows what he's doing, man.
I saw him
Breaking
type
news.
this tweet with his left hand.
That's the scoop.
Sigh of relief.
Jets quarterback scoop, Bobby Witt Jr. injury scoop. He really is a sports insider now.
He's making a name for himself this spring training in the media world, you know?
That's right. That's right. Just one housekeeping thing to pass along. Just saw it became official. Jalen Moore signed his contract. Now there's video proof has signed his contract with.
He's not going to change his mind.
That's right. That's
that
right.
happens every once in a while. It's
he
important
has
to know.
signed his contract with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Ooh, could you imagine if you found out that he had changed his mind and somebody else offered him different money? They're like,
At this point, you would have to be like, all right, we have to pay. We have to pay him whatever that other offer is.
like he's like extorting you for more, and you're like, I don't think we even have a choice, guys. The hell are we going to
that
start at left
agent, the
tackle?
relationship, and all that. That's the reason why that stuff doesn't happen to that extent.
Not on players usually that high priced. Not ever, but yeah. Usually
Enter
it's like,
Ariante Ursary, the guy we talked about yesterday.
What about it?
That's who you'd have to draft in the first round if you
Well,
you
they
didn't
still
want to pay
might
up.
draft a tackle fairly high anyway.
yeah.
Like that's still in play.
I mean, a first round pick, a tackle.
What grade do you give that?
What the?
Okay,
If-
so
if you pick a-
I
know we
will
don't
never
know
give
how
an
good he is.
A
If
to
you
a
pick a
first
tackle.
round. I mean, I don't know, like grade before knowing the results.
Yes.
probably like
just drafting the position.
I don't know, like a B. I'll never give
You
it an
still
A
give it a
because
B.
I hate using first round picks on players that don't start. I hate it.
Yeah, it'd probably be a B minus, C plus type of thing.
Yeah, B. Yeah, it kind of depends on the
But
tackle.
I have no
honestly.
problem with them spending one of their first 3 picks, generally speaking, on a tackle still. Because best case scenario, Jalen Moore goes out there and shows he should. The only reason why he wasn't starting is because Trent Williams is a future Hall of Famer and maybe the best left tackle in NFL history, and so he was behind him. He gets to start 17 games and he plays above average, and you're like, wow, let's talk extension now with him. That's the dream scenario, okay? If everything
And even
went
then, it's
great.
like that tackle just goes to right tackle and you're fine. From 815, it said Vinny said he's staying at Bobby's
There you go.
house.
There's your answer.
Next time he's on the show, I want to ask him: is he chipping in on rent?
Is Vinny chipping it?
Yeah.
Oh boy,
Bobby signed.
You may not want to put that business out there.
Bobby
man.
signed like a $300 million deal. He's crashing at Bobby's place. All I want to know is does Vinny chip in for rent? Or does he
trying to
buy
get
the
people in trouble.
groceries? That's not trouble. I'm asking him. I didn't ask Bobby if Vinny's chipping
Well,
in.
if Bobby
That's
finds
asking-
out,
Finds out what? Bobby knows whether or not he's chipping in for rent.
Well, no, I'm saying, hey, I heard they brought it up on the radio, and everybody seemed to, you know what? You do owe me money for rent now.
No, Bobby.
If he's not paying.
No.
If he's not paying.
If you know Bobby's personality at all, he'd never do. He'd never go that.
$275 million or whatever his contract is
here's the
also
truth.
helps.
I think Bobby would hit him with the, nah, man, it's good.
I got it.
I think Vinny offered, and I think Bobby's like, nah, man, it's cool. And he's like, just put some, like the normal thing you say when
What a
you
guy.
when somebody offers you something for free, and you're like, well, can I let me get the groceries, let me buy the food, or you try to be like, well, I'm chipping in somewhere, even if it's not for the rent, Someone says 0% chance they draft a tackle in the first round.
That's not zero. It's low, but it's not zero. I think it's
Defensive line is still the highest percentage. It's the betting favorite.
I still think tackle's like 15 or 20% chance.
Yeah,
which is low, but
everybody
but
who's
not-
doing a mock draft nowadays seems like it's still a very real
Well,
possibility.
maybe we'll get a mock draft Sunday later, and we'll find out if everyone's still thinking tackle. No, he's officially signed his deal.
That's
Right.
right.
Slight difference there. Tonight, though, we'll finally get to see Missouri basketball in SEC tournament action. They got so many damn teams there. You got to wait a couple of weeks. Even if you are the 6th seed in the SEC tournament, you got to wait a few days. I was looking further and further at this because I'm not going to try to pretend like I sat here and watched Mississippi State a ton this year or anything. But when you look at when you dive into the numbers, like if you look at KenPom or record or conference record, or all these are the same team. These are two teams who were pretty good in the SEC, who have a couple of really good scores, who lose plenty of SEC games. One was 10-8, the other was 8-10. These are fundamentally the same basketball team at the exact same stage. And this game is kind of determining what kind of seeding you're looking at in the NCAA tournament. If you're Missouri and you want any chance at getting to a 5 line, win this game. You want to get sucked into a 6 or a 7, lose this game, right? And you're kind of stuck in no man's land. And you don't get to a 5 by beating them. It just gives you the chance to get to a 5, in my opinion. And I think that they're going to need their guard play is going to have to be great like it's been most of the year, and maybe get a stop on defense.
is the key. I mean, honestly, that's what it is. We've been talking about this for 2.5 weeks now, and the points. 5 of the last 7 games they've played, they've given up more than 76 points to their opponents, and including a couple in the 90s or the one in the 100. Obviously, I know they won the game against Alabama, but still they gave it, 98 points, I think it was, to Alabama. The problem is since mid-February, Missouri, in their own conference, they are 16th in the SEC in adjusted defense since mid-February, right? They are in the bottom of the SEC, the very bottom of the SEC when it comes to defense since mid-February, which is almost a month now. So that's the problem. And they got a chance, though, to get some momentum, feel better about their defense against Mississippi State tonight. By the way, the Tigers 3.5 point favorites this evening against Mississippi State. That is where things stand. But I told you our video is out there for bets of the day. I like Mississippi State team total over 76.5 points today because of what Missouri's defense has been. Missouri might win, but I think Mississippi State still scores over 76 points. So that's one of my picks for the day.
I just don't think Missouri's winning games 59-56 at any point during the SEC tournament, the NCAA tournament. They're winning every games. Every number better start with a 7 for them or an 8, maybe a 9, depending on the matchup. But at least those first two, 70s, 80s minimum, 90s would be preferred probably if you're a Missouri fan because they've played some close ones where they're kind of running into that. They're still, I still think of the 3 locals, I still think they're the best overall team. And because the long adage that still holds true about the NCAA tournament about guard play being so important really favors them. Their 2 best players are guards. That's not where Kansas is, right? That's not where K-State's not in it anymore, but like, that's not where those teams are. Like, I still think there's an advantage there where they can, like, maybe get something going. I just think they still need, like, a confidence boost, like, to remember that they can win basketball games before they head out to the NCAA tournament.
They earlier, Mississippi State was a different team, but I believe they won by over 20 points. They held Mississippi State's in the 60s when they played in early February.
It was, it was a couple months back.
So that's your hope. But Missouri, SEC play, they open up their action this evening. We'll get back to the Big 12 in the noon hour today as well. But for now, let's get to it. Maybe.
Trash of the day.
I was podcasting something, had to get back to... Yes, I have his podcast.
You're good. If I would have waited like 0.2 more seconds, we would have been.
Trash of the day.
You sometimes got to drag it out, stall. All good. All right, let's get to the trash.
And now,
it is
trash
time. All right, let's go to skiing for this one. Okay.
You ever been skiing?
I have. When I lived in Boise. That's actually the last time, and probably the only time I'll ever go skiing again. I had fun after the first 2 hours of being miserable and falling on my ass constantly. Then for about 30 minutes, I was like, this is really awesome.
When you're like standing on your own 2 feet?
And I never went back after that. I don't like heights. That's the other problem with the whole skiing thing for me. You know, you go up on the gondola or whatever they call them.
Yeah, the lift.
The lift. Yeah, that's not comfortable for me even. Anyway, all right, skiing. Norwegian ski jumping, all right, one of the really cool Olympic skiing events. It's always cool. If you played even some video games back in the day, there was an Olympic video game that this was one of the fun ones to do because your skier would just like fly and usually you wouldn't be able to land, and it was fun. Anyway, so there's controversy. There's scandal in skiing
to the
right
skiing
now.
world?
In Norway in particular. So Norwegian ski jumping is the center of a scandal as team officials and athletes are facing suspensions over alleged suit manipulation.
Oh, no.
As in the suit they're wearing, the head coach, equipment manager have confessed to the cheating, but the team insists the 2 gold medalists were not involved. Just the coaches did.
Oh, well, that's... wow, how convenient.
So they've been put under formal suspicion. Here's what they allegedly did. The AP reports there was a whistleblower secretly filmed team officials manipulating pre-approved and microchip suits. The changes cannot be spotted by eye, and that it wasn't until the crotch area seams were torn apart.
They manipulated the crotch area?
The crotch area seams were torn apart that officials managed to confirm the alteration. The suits were found to contain a reinforced thread, making them stiffer and therefore more aerodynamic. The AP adds that extra material had been added to give the suit some more weight in the crotch area.
Wow, making them leaner, faster.
This lowered the material between the athlete's legs during the flight phase, and the extra surface area hitting the air helped to add flight time.
Can you imagine that just like that small amount of fabric somehow, like a double stitch, is the reason why you're able to like fly far enough
Well,
to like
it's
win
it's
an
all
Olympic
about the
skiing
aerodynamics
event?
for that, yeah.
I guess, man. Even that small of a change, huh? So they manipulated.
They claim they cheated. They claim they cheated once. We only did it one time.
Oh, yeah, it's always just the
ahead
one
of
time.
last Saturday's men's large hill world championships. The skier, I think, took second event before being disqualified once the allegations emerged. The quote, "We regret it like dogs, and I'm terribly sorry that this happened. I don't really have anything else to say other than that we got carried away in our bubble."
If this guy didn't get videotaped, can you even bust him on this? Like, I mean, if nobody had known that it was happening,
inspect the suit.
They said, well, I know, but they said they're pre-inspected. You can't tell via the naked eye that anything is different. So if they didn't have like a rat on the inside, this guy gets away with it, right?
Probably.
He's
I don't think
probably
they're
getting away with it for months.
But now they're going to be checking the crotch area of all these suits.
How's that go?
These
How
skiers.
does that process work?
They got to make sure there's no cheating.
They check the suit while the suit
To make sure
is
it's not too
just the
firm?
suit.
Is that what it is? I mean, that's what they said.
It said the crotch seams were torn apart, busted at the seams, Cody.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
After yesterday, I don't know. We need to be careful.
Never, ever get caught with your pants down. I would have just, like, what makes you go through the process of, like, when you're sitting in, like, a wind tunnel at practice or whatever, because you're an Olympian, right? So they probably do that stuff, that you notice the slight difference in aerodynamics specifically by reinforcing that region.
They might
not
not
like
have
an
questioned
arm,
anything.
not a calf. You're working through all the wind tunnel simulations, and you're like, if we just put a little more firm padding here in underpants area, we're good to go.
I mean, this wasn't at the Olympics, but it was an Olympic event, obviously, Norwegian skiing. We had the issue this past summer where someone's crotch region during the the pole vault, unfortunately impacted his performance as well. You guys
That's just
remember?
God working against that guy. That's different.
Yeah, I mean that impacted his performance in the opposite way. There was no cheating. It just, you weren't born for that event.
But maybe if he had like a different unapproved pair of leggings, they kept everything tighter, right? Maybe he does. Maybe he does get through.
Text line is wondering if you would have had the same cheating in the seams of the crotch for skiing while also taking Blue Chew, Drew. Would that have caused any problems?
No, that's probably a banned substance,
Performance enhancing.
Performance enhancing.
It is.
Banned substance.
Chew it and do
for
it.
Skiing.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be having that. So was his name Sean P. Wiener?
No, let's see the ski. You know what? It could be though, because I don't see the names of the skiers. So it could be. Yeah, there could be some relation there. Maybe this is the junior to the maybe senior was the guy in the car chase. Maybe junior was the individual in skiing. Yeah.
We come from a long line of wieners.
Huh?
That's tough. That's a tough way to get busted. Some guy was filming the whole thing as they manipulated the suits.
That also is.
That sequence of phrasing and wording there was very interesting. If you just turn on the radio today,
you'd be like, "What?
Excuse
if
me?"
You literally just turn it on. You're like, "What are they talking about?" Cody Tapp, Alex Gold, Drew Nixon with you. So a little trash of the day.
That's
talking
all?
about
Yeah.
reinforced crotch area of ski suits. Totally normal Thursday conversation.
Yeah.
I can't believe you don't have these conversations at your workplace.
Mm-hmm.
They might now.
Yeah, it's never too late.
I can only
be
imagine.
having the second one with HR.
They said the Olympians did not know, correct?
They're saying the coaches just did it.
Didn't know.
So
yeah, they don't want them getting
I'm
in
convinced,
trouble.
Cody. They're in the wind tunnel. Hey, there's something in the suit feels it's just a little bit different than normal. There's some new.
It's fine.
It's a
I
new
bet you.
version of the suit.
Honestly, though, I bet you for some there's probably no way he even feels any different to the skier.
Probably
it just
not.
is like.
They
hey,
said you can't even tell by looking at it.
It's just, but it gives you a slight advantage in airflow. When you're up there, down there.
That's why I got disqualified.
The smallest thing can make a difference.
Yep.
Yes, it can, Drew. Yes, it can.
That's a good time to take a break.
Up next, we're going to get to the Cheese Shred half hour.
After I said something?
We're going to get to the Cheese Shred half hour, all right? And the lack of movement at one position for the Chiefs, plus what one national radio host is already saying about the AFC West next year.
This is Cody and Gold on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
What's up, guys? It's Drew. We just got done with the NFL Combine, looking ahead to the draft here in the month of April. These guys perform at the highest level and train to perform at the highest level as much as they can, trying to showcase their talent for all the NFL teams going from college to the pros. What if you could perform just as highly as those guys do without any training at all? I'm talking about Blue Chew. Your partner wants you to do whatever it takes to make your sex life better, and Blue Chew is your secret weapon for the bedroom or wherever you decide to get it on. Turn oh no into oh yes with Blue Chew. Blue Chew is an online prescription service. There's no visits to the doctor's office. There's no awkward conversations. There's no waiting in line at the pharmacy and taking all the time of the day just to get that prescription. It ships right to your door in a discreet package. Their licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredient and strength for your prescription. If you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, go to BlueChew.com and get your first month free when you use our promo code KFNZ at checkout. Just pay $5 for shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code KFNZ to receive your first month free. Then you'll be able to chew it and do it.
This week, FanDuel is bringing you a Dog of the Day Profit Boost token. One of the best parts about the tourney is when an underdog takes down a powerhouse. And right now, those upsets can get even better because if your underdog bet wins, you'll land even more winnings with a Profit Boost. This is your chance to ride with the long shots, the scrappy teams, the ones that refuse to go quietly. If you've been waiting to join FanDuel, there's no better time. The app's easy to use, and when you win, you'll get paid instantly. Just visit FanDuel.com/Alex to download America's #1 sportsbook today and back your Dog of the Day with a Profit Boost. Because after all, anything can happen in March. FanDuel is the official partner of 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. Opt-in required. Wager of at least plus 100 odds required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable Profit Boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
It's here, Kansas City Northland, your new Academy Sports and Outdoor store. Now open at 9130 Northwest Skyview Avenue. Don't miss our grand opening celebration, Friday, March 14th through Sunday, March 16th. Plus, shop grand opening deals starting Thursday, March 13th at your new Kansas City Northland store and at your Liberty, Overland Park, Olathe, and Belton stores. The first 150 customers in line when the store opens this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 18 and over, get a free mystery gift card with over $15,000 in total weekend prizes.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we're improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to RexBuysKC.com. That's RexBuysKC.com, and I look forward to working with you.
Some things just go together, like peanut butter and jelly, or a Casey's spicy chicken sandwich and a 49-cent medium fountain drink, or a Casey's breakfast sandwich and a 49-cent fountain drink, or even Casey's limited time Italian deli sliders and a 49-cent fountain drink. You get the idea. It's not crazy. It's Casey's. See store for details.
A body in motion stays in motion until you feel that muscle tighten. KRT helps you get back in action with all natural pain relief in just minutes. Learn more at krtrelief.com.
Hi, it's me, your USPS Ground Advantage shipment. Just left the warehouse.
I know, just got the notification.
Made it.
Yes, I know. I get all the updates.
Stay in the know with USPS Ground Advantage service. Visit USPS.com/in-the-know.
Let Popeyes do the fishing while you enjoy our signature seafood that you'll love, like our delicious flounder fish sandwich or crispy shrimp tackle box. So come give them a try before they're gone, y'all. Limited time at participating U.S. restaurants.
This is the story of the one. As a quality technician in a food processing center, she knows that making the right call is the best way to avoid a recall. That's why she trusts Grainger's world-class supply chain to deliver the high-quality supplies she needs to help keep her production line, her equipment, and her customers happy and healthy. Call 1-800-GRANGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Old Spice Swagger Body Wash will make you the MVP of freshness and confidence. With its irresistible scent, it will transform your shower experience, leaving you feeling fresh on and off the field. Pair it with Old Spice Swagger Deodorant, the #1 aluminum-free brand that keeps you feeling like a Super Bowl champion 24/7 when used daily. But don't wait. This dynamic duo is available at Costco for a limited time only. Old Spice, official deodorant partner of the NFL and Super Bowl 59, where freshness meets football greatness.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this: if something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month, with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
All power, zero compromise. Ego cordless outdoor power equipment features advanced lithium battery technology that exceeds the power and performance of gas without the noise, fuss, or fumes. From blowers and trimmers to mowers and pressure washers, one battery powers over 90 tools. No wonder it is the #1 rated brand in cordless outdoor power. Power beyond belief. Visit egopowerplus.com to learn more or to find an Ego retailer near you. That's egopowerplus.com.
The technicians you can trust with your house keys. Anthony Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric.
Money-back guarantees and parts and labor warranties mean you're not just buying products, you're securing your investment. For a limited time, receive a free furnace when you purchase an AC. Schedule a complimentary proposal online at anthonyphce.com.
Opening day coverage is brought to you by Hollywood Casino. Stop by Hollywood Casino every Wednesday in March from 12 until 2 to register for your chance to win opening day tickets. Your home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan. You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. Welcome in to the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Every day at 11:30 with Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan.
Thanks for hanging out with us. It is the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. Coming up in the noon hour, we'll be joined by Josh Vern, our Royals insider. We'll also get back into some college basketball. Plus, one-star pitcher in the big leagues has some ideas for some big-time rule changes. We'll tell you what that is in the noon hour today. Big 12 tournament, first game of the day, just tipping off right now. Iowa State and BYU. We'll get you some scoreboard updates as warranted, as Iowa State, winner of this, would play the winner of Houston and Colorado. A 1-16 matchup we're going to get later on this afternoon. Colorado's
on a heater.
You're Buffs.
Buffaloes. I should have gone down to watch them 2 nights in a row.
So there we go. BYU just underway, up 3-0 early against Iowa State. But let's talk some Chiefs football. They haven't done anything on the defensive line yet so far this, unless you want to count bringing back Malik Herring on a nothing deal.
No, I mean, he was in the offensive line last year. It's a 1-year deal. He's a rotational guy at the end of the rotation, to be very clear, is where Malik Herring lands. I guess it was making me wonder, if you're not going to make a move on the offensive line or defensive line, and maybe you're still waiting all these contracts to get officially signed and dollars to be moved and cents to make sense, do they have a larger role in mind for Felix Anudike-Uzomah than we had originally considered? Take out personal feelings aside about like how we think they are as a player or not. If they don't make a major move on the defensive line, I am only left to assume that they are big believers that he can take a step forward this year. 2 years absent. He does make some plays when he's in there. He does make some nice plays for Kansas City. So you could look at this as like the fourth corner who, when he plays, doesn't screw things up. Good in the run game. I don't see much in the pass rush department there still. But he's been an effective guy in his 15 to 20 snaps, but it's hard to imagine they're like, we think we're ramping it up to 45, because that's what it would take, tripling his snaps in order to do it.
Yeah, it'll be year 3. This is, it's year 3 already, even though when he was drafted, we all understood, how raw he was. But this will be year 3. And As far as, does it mean that they're expecting a bigger role? I mean, I think the snap count could go up, but also the draft still exists. And, there's a chance they draft an edge rusher. We've been talking interior, but there's a chance they draft an edge rusher in the first round. And that guy, even though you can say, well, that should have been Felix. Yeah, but doesn't mean they stop trying to fix the problem if there is one. So I think there's a chance
that guy could be behind Felix because Felix is behind everybody.
I'm saying even that guy could just be all of a sudden come in right away and start. He might just be a better player. That happens, right? So
sure.
I don't think it means necessarily like Felix is starting defensive end opposite George Karlaftis. Right this second, if they had a game tomorrow, yes, that would be. If the game was tomorrow, that would be the case. But I still think there'll be a veteran signing. I don't know how big, and there'll be a draft pick that changes this defensive line a little bit.
No, you're right to the point that a defensive lineman, but what if it's a defensive tackle in the first round, right?
Yeah.
And so there's so many different options, and I'm not sure that that's the case. I'm just wondering if there's a plan that I'm not privy to. This works. We don't know the players they like internally, and for I'd say Felix Anudike Uzama defenders, the first year made a lot of sense, right? Where it's he can't get on the field because he's got to get on the field above, he's got to get on the field above Karlaftis and above Chris Jones and above. They had a lot of guys last year less. The pass rush wasn't quite as good. It's just I'm having a hard time seeing the leap from 15 to 45. But again, if they make a signing, let's say below in a mini Hugh type player, part of me thinks they do have a bigger plan for him. Maybe it's not the full shift to he's the full-time outside defensive end, ready to go, similar snaps as Charles Omenihu towards the end of the season, but they're going to be in a bigger rotation between outside guys there and edge guys where it's more of a 50-50 split than it's been before.
Yeah, no, it could be. I just, even if they draft a defensive tackle, I would be surprised that there's not some other veteran that gets brought in to the defensive line picture before we get to the draft. And I don't know. I would like that to be Charles Omenihu. I don't know who it's going to be. The longer Charles Omenihu sits out there not signed, though, the chance of him coming back goes up because that means the deal that he thought he could get just doesn't exist. Right? I mean, today's Thursday. I know the league year started yesterday, but really this is now day 4? If we're being real about how this process
we're
works,
pretty far into the free agency period.
This is fourth wave. And the longer he's out
Kyle
there.
Juszczyk has a meeting today. It's not, I know Cooper Kupp and some other guys are available. It's not like there aren't still
but Kupp couldn't even talk to anybody until because once they
Wednesday.
Yesterday, yeah.
But I understand that there's still some not every player who belongs as the day 1 or day 2 free agent goes in day 1 and day 2, and not everybody who goes in day 1 is a day 1 free agent. So maybe a Omenihu lands in kind of this middle ground,
but it's rare
it's just been really quiet on the defensive end front. The first move you make is a 1-year deal for Malik Herring. It's we're pretty far down the bottom of the let's go get our guy list right now. And that's why it kind of stands out, as I was just wondering, hey, maybe they got a deeper plan other than taking 1 or 2 guys in the draft, which you and I definitely think is possible. Maybe they got a deeper plan. Maybe they see the way they used Felix there late in the season and they think, yeah, he can take those 16 snaps and turn them into 32 snaps. And we think that will play out in the long run. I'd be curious to know if he can turn those into sacks. That's where I am. Can you turn these into sacks? Karlaftis and Chris Jones are helping you on the other side. You're going to get some one-on-ones. Not just be a good run stopper, not just be I think fundamentally he does some things really well. But can you turn some of those into even Turk Wharton level of sacks? 5.5, 6.
Can it click in year 3? I mean, it's not something that's a 0% chance of happening. I think we would agree he's gotten better. Hasn't taken the strides you were hoping, obviously, for him
he's
to have
definitely a way
taken
better
based
player
on
than
where he
2 years
was
ago.
drafted. Now, can this be an offseason where he takes an even bigger leap? And can they actually rely on him? We're going to find out. I also think the way they approach the rest of the offseason will tell us their confidence level. Because if they don't spend a high pick and they don't bring in another veteran edge rusher, well, then they are saying, no, they have belief that he's going to be able to be that guy this year. And so that'll just tell us in general.
And I look at the text on it, be from the 402, I feel like Felix gets a lot of hate. He's worked his way from bust to solid NFL rotational edge kind of guy. Look, I don't know that because he's played in all 34 games since he's been in the NFL. There were times and probably in which it felt like bust, but the reason why the people are critical of him is the first round. If you take out if he was a 4th round guy, you'd be like, you know what? Solid defensive rotational guy.
He was a 3rd round guy.
He had 2.5 sacks last year. That's better than the half sack he had the year before. Can he become a 4.5, 5 sack guy like Mike Dana? Yeah, but Mike Dana was taken in the 3rd round. The criticism from Felix comes from the fact that he was a 1st round pick. And I'll ignore that going forward.
I'll say there's nothing you can do about it now. If you're him, hey, it's not your fault you got drafted in the first round.
Yeah, his value, where he was picked is probably never going to match the production value you get on the field. But I do still want growth out of Felix, because if he turns himself into an even further nice, rotational, defensive end guy who can get 4.5 sacks, 5 sacks a year, great. That's a productive player who belongs on an NFL team who deserves to get some snaps for you. They're not even using him like that quite yet.
No,
or haven't been, but they're just not doing anything in the free agency period. So
I mean, Mike Dana has a year left under his contract. He had 3.5 last year. The year before he had 6.5. Last year he played in 13 games. You rotate Mike Dana and Felix plus a newcomer into the mix. That's probably the path for defensive end here in 2025 for Kansas City. And if that means the snaps go up a little bit for Felix, that's fine. He's not going to get anywhere near the snaps as a clear-cut starter that Karlaftis gets. But can he work in more? Can he be a bigger portion of the snap share with Mike Dana or whoever else they decide to bring in?
Hopefully another free agent. It's been so quiet, it was making me question it, at least on a small end Gold, where I'm like, maybe there's just some hidden plan I don't know about. And Malik Herring didn't move the needle enough to make me change my opinion that couldn't still possibly be the case.
So it's early in the offseason. I thought we would have to wait till June to start seeing these takes fly off about
March 13th.
About the AFC West and the Chiefs not winning it. We already have our first individual that has thrown it out there, and that's fine. The reasoning doesn't make any sense to me, and it's nothing that's new reasoning. Joe Fortenbaugh over at ESPN Radio had this to say.
Problem is they're not going to be able to solve all of their issues to get back to the Super Bowl next year. They're heading for, I'm not going to call it a reset, but I would not expect them in the Super Bowl next year. I don't expect them in the AFC Championship game next year. I'm going to be betting that they do not win the AFC West next year. Right now it sounds crazy because of how dominant they've been. But at some point, the bottom's going to fall out on these guys. There are a few big red flag indicators. Number one, they have won 17 consecutive one-score games. They were 12-0 in one-score games last year. Last time we heard of a team that was that dominant in one-score games was the Minnesota Vikings a few seasons ago. Bottomed out the next year.
They went 13-3, right?
You can't just bank on the idea that Denver's always going to have that game-winning field goal blocked, or that Cincinnati's always going to commit that penalty in the big spot, or that Isaiah Likely's toe's always going to come down out of bounds. It doesn't work like that. Eventually, the math catches up to you. You're going to start losing some one-score games. On top of that, I don't see Travis Kelce having some resurgence. He'll be good. He won't be great.
So that's Joe Fortenbaugh on ESPN Radio. We have no idea if they're getting back to the Super Bowl, have no clue. Saying that they're not going to make the Super Bowl isn't some crazy take or anything like that. Saying they're not going to win the AFC West isn't crazy, but it's March 13th. You're already telling us that you're going to bet that without even knowing what the rest of the
good in one-score games,
without even knowing what the rest of the offseason is. The Chiefs are probably not going 30-0 in one-score games. They're probably not, right? There's a very good chance that doesn't happen.
Probably not. You're not even willing to say 100%.
Yeah, they're probably not, Cody.
Even you have to hedge your bet on that one.
But him citing the Vikings, that franchise.
From 2017? Citing a Vikings team from 8 years ago?
Or even a couple years ago when they had a season, a really strong year and everybody thought they were fraudulent 2 years ago. Even that
14
year.
games last year, though. It's like,
right. But the idea that that's the comp makes no sense. The Vikings haven't won anything. They don't have Mahomes. They don't have Andy Reid. The one-score game thing people were saying in the middle of last season, hey, that's going to eventually drop. And yes, they got their ass kicked in the Super Bowl. But if you were saying in Week 12 that's going to come back to bite them, that is losing in the Super Bowl does not prove your point. Oh man, I knew it was going to finally get them, and they got their ass kicked in the Super Bowl. That is not. That's a terrible comp to use. You want to pick the Broncos to win it, fine. But if you're going to say that it's not sustainable, why can't I just also say how do we know Bo Nix is not going to fall back and have a sophomore slump the way C.J. Stroud has a sophomore slump? How do we know that Harbaugh's...
I can pretend anything to try to make a team sound bad. Again, I do not think that in any way it is like a fluke that a team wins one-score games over and over and over and over and over again. When they have the league's best coach and the league's best quarterback and one of the league's best GMs, I think then it gets out of fluke territory to get it. I was listening to his argument. I was like, what is this argument? It seems circular and you're just kind of doing this. Lawyer. He's a lawyer. Our boy Fortenberg went to the Thomas Jefferson
Fortenbaugh.
School. Fortenbaugh went to the Thomas Jefferson School of Law. I'm like, that's what it is. He just
Well,
makes.
that's fine. I mean, that doesn't matter. I don't know why we got to make it personal.
I am going to make it
personal.
personal.
That matters.
I just said, I think the way in which he was making his argument sounded like somebody who was changing facts just to make them sound worse. It's not a bad thing that they won games in a row. The idea that they're not going to go to the AFC Championship game, I can't imagine even predicting that right now. I can't even imagine being an analyst and be like, this is the year. Why? Are you tired? Are you going to go back to it next year, or are you going to give up? Because really, here's what we get out of the analysts who predict the Chiefs' downfall at any particular phase. We get three versions. We get the version of the people who accept reality. That is, they predict the Chiefs to at least be in the AFC Championship game every single year until proven otherwise. You get the second group, which is they predict the Chiefs to lose, and then after being proven wrong, they just go back and be like, you know what? Bad take. They're just always going to be in the AFC Championship game. And then you get a group of people who just predict them year after year, year after year, year after year for the downfall. Right?
Same thing with the Andy thing. Eventually, it's going to happen. Well, sure, eventually. It's going to happen.
Yeah, they just bank on it over.
Eventually, it's going to fall out.
And they'll be the person, and I'm not saying, I don't know how many times he's predicted him to be out of the AFC, but they pump their chest out I got it right. And I'm how many times? How many times did you make the prediction they'd miss the AFC Championship game?
Yeah, that's what happened after the Super Bowl. There was so many people that picked the Eagles to beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl 2 years ago and get dominated, and they were wrong, and so they went back to it this year, and they were right this year, and now you've got everybody from that post-Eagles ass-kicking saying, see, I told you they were fraudulent or whatever it may be. I always take issue with the notion in Week 10, Week 12, if you want to say a team can't keep doing something, but then if they lose in the Super Bowl, you can't really claim you were correct.
They couldn't win the Super Bowl. What do you mean they made it to it?
Correct. Yeah. If they lost in the first round of the playoffs, then yeah, you could say they were fraudulent, right? They won a bunch of games and they were one and done. Sure, absolutely, that's the case. But the AFC West stuff will pick up more, I'm sure, in the summertime, and there'll be a lot of people that'll pick the Broncos. My guess is, or the Chargers to win the division, and that in its own right is fine. I disagree, but let's at least wait to see what the offseason looks like. It's March 13th, and you're already telling us you're betting them not to win the division based off of a trend and a comparison from years ago. Anyway,
6-year-old, 7-year-old. I gotta respect the siren here, the mock draft sounder. Sorry, I was gonna just be like, a bad comparison. Case Keenum. Nah, that's fine. I just think it's crazy to say they won't win the West. Yeah. That's all.
All right, so we're gonna go out. Our guy Lance, I think a certain group of fans locally are gonna like what Lance put together.
So this is just a fan mock draft.
Yep, fan mock draft from our guy Lance. Pick 31.
All right.
Luther Burden to the Kansas City Chiefs.
All right. Again, not against
If he falls to 31, I would not.
I don't think he's falling to 31. I'm in the Matt Miller camp of this is all smoke and mirrors, and he's going at 17. But
it's
actually, I'm interested.
It's actually common now in mock drafts that we've looked at. The other ones I haven't.
He's in the second round. Really
he is in the second round.
Okay.
He went at 33, 34, 35. At pick 63, JT Tuimoloau from Ohio State, the edge rusher, really productive couple of seasons. These last couple of years, part of the great defenses, and then running back in the third round with Caleb Johnson. More of an interesting pick, Gold, because we've talked about a guy that's more of a bruiser, not necessarily what the Chiefs need, but Caleb Johnson, he's got good athletic potential, but he's more of the Pacheco style of runner than Devin Neal or Travion Henderson. Of course, at Iowa, they don't throw the ball very much either, so catching and passing game, not that he's bad at it, but we don't have much sample size from him. And then Omar Norman Lott, another name that we've had previously at defensive tackle in those 3 rounds. So wide receiver, edge rusher, running back, defensive tackle. It addresses needs. I don't know if you say that's a bad mock or you wouldn't go for any of those picks.
No, I'm not offended by any of this. I think maybe I expect more defense. I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I think they're taking a running back, and I don't think if Burden falls, I obviously want him to take that. The only complaint I would have is, the style of running back, Gold. I'm in the same boat as you. I want a pass-catching, game-breaking, Achane style, can run for 80 yards. It feels like it's been a really long time since they had that running back. Probably the first year of Kareem Hunt when he still had some of that game-breaking ability, right? Because he did when he first came in the league. He doesn't now, but he did when he first came in.
No, he might be more like Kareem Hunt, actually. He has some game-breaking speed, and obviously at Iowa, you got to be a good running back to play there because they run the ball a whole lot. But
Yeah, no, I mean, Luther Burden is the one, I've told you my issue with a lot of mock drafts is now there's different simulators people use too, but this one didn't have trades in it at least, so I don't believe, right? So I applaud that for our listener, Lance, because I told you, not that trades don't happen in the draft. I don't believe in mock drafts unless it's like a pretty
I don't mind
top 5 one. Well, because I can make a trade and make it to where I just get the guy I want.
If it's realistic, I don't mind it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't like it if the Chiefs trade up to 11.
I see some of these mock drafts and people will send them to us and stuff, and it's got like 4 trades. I'm just like, okay, like that's way too many variables for you to try, just to try to get the player you want to get for your mock draft. That's my issue with those.
You guys don't fill out one, you guys don't go on a Pro Football Focus and do one mock draft simulator?
We joke every year. We end up doing one as a show live on the air right before.
That's right. We do. Yes.
Like that week of.
We take our players. I still think it'll be quarterback 1-2 because it always ends up being quarterback 1-2.
Typically, yeah.
Whether you think it's a trade or not, that's my guess for how I assume it'll be Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders 1-2. I'll start there.
It typically ends up being that. All right, let's get a little Big 12 scoreboard update brought to you by Powell Exteriors KC. For siding, windows, decks, and more, it has to be Powell Exteriors KC and PowellKC.com. Plenty of offense right out of the gate. BYU and Iowa State. How about BYU out to a 25-15 lead? Still 11:42 to go. Not good for those on the under. Me. The fact is, you have a BYU team that is 6 of 9 from 3.
I don't love
out
that.
of the gate. 66% from 3 in the first 9 minutes. Not even 9 minutes of the basketball game. So the Cyclones early down 10. In a pro Cyclone crowd at the T-Mobile Center. That's the only game going on, obviously, at the Big 12 quarterfinal. Later on this afternoon, Colorado going to be in action against top-seeded Houston. But a lot of points. Right now, the live total is all the way up to 162. It was 146.5.
I don't love that.
No, I don't like that either.
You know?
I don't like that either, Cody.
Well, sometimes
6 of 9 BYU. Where the hell is this coming from?
Can't make shots forever. Maybe.
Well,
Maybe they can.
I mean, if you jump out to this kind of lead, I don't know, man. But yeah, Big 12 tournament. We were talking to our guy Rob during the break as well. That tickets tonight still not terrible if you're trying to go to the tournament.
I will say, in addition to that, if we're waiting for Bobby Witt Jr. news, our guy Josh Vernier said he did see Bobby Witt Jr. in the clubhouse, and that he did not even see a bruise. Andy Rogers reporting that he's sore, considered day to day, but the fact that he's I don't know, he looks fine, and the fact that Vinny was sending out that tweet last night, he looks okay. We can talk more about it later. I just wanted to point out that you don't have to panic, at least at this moment. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, look, BYU can't make shots forever, you know?
It's not a good look. It's not a good look right now.
Plus, it's good for Kansas City if Iowa State stays. The longer they stay in the tournament, the more.
Yeah, but they're down 10.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I want them to come back on BYU.
BYU's up 10. I mean, that's not good for the overall attendance the rest of the tournament, honestly. Maybe some folks from BYU coming to town if they go on a deeper run. I told you, though, pre-show, from an NCAA tournament perspective, I actually think BYU's, depending on the draw, going to a Sweet 16. I kind of like BYU as a basketball team. I think they're really good. They've got some impressive wins. They're usually not coming out shooting like this in the first 8.5 minutes of action.
Maybe we'll just start putting up some bricks, Need some time to waste off. You need one of those 4-minute scoring droughts that happen in every single college basketball game across the country because nobody has enough offense.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Right now, not great. It's way over pace. It's way over the pace by 15 points.
It's way too early. Still 30 minutes of game time left. Also, switch back to quarters college basketball.
Well, college men's has never been
the
quarters.
Only ones. Yeah, men's the only one.
Fine,
yeah.
Switch to quarters.
They need to go to quarters badly.
I think that could happen here fairly soon.
There was a moment last night.
Every other pro does it.
I can't remember what game it was, but there was a pause. There was no timeout called. There was no review. It was just a stoppage of play that took a minute and a half of real time. Everybody was just standing around.
Oh, on the TV, it was I don't know, reviewing the ball, who was off in the Kansas game. It's
it should have taken 10 seconds last night.
Why does it take a minute?
When he dribbled off his foot or whatever it was last night, it should have taken 10 seconds to review that. Instead, it took him. I think that one actually only took a minute, but still, should have been done 30 seconds earlier. Should have been something like that. A lot of people on the text line are saying I should mention a stat to Drew. For relation to the NFL, I think it's somebody.
We already did that once.
Yeah, that stat. The stat you guys sent us. Somebody repurposed that yesterday, but we already acknowledged that probably month and a half ago, 2 months ago, was the Andy Dalton Joe Burrow comparison. I honestly think someone just literally copied off of the publication that put it out there weeks ago.
We did this like a month ago.
We have talked about on the show about stats with no
and Drew agreed. Joe Burrow, Andy Dalton, very similar quarterbacks.
He loves Andy Dalton.
Yeah, he's a big fan.
I did like the Red Rifle more than most, but there are some stats that we've talked about that are taken out of context, and that is one of those things.
Never.
Holy crap.
Never happens, man. Up next, we'll get to what's trending. We'll get back in to college basketball, what it means for K-State's future out that the season is over for them, and what could Kansas do tonight against Arizona.
Cody and Gold.
I didn't sleep well. I was drunk.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. 96.5, The Fan.
This Friday, we're expecting some severe weather in Kansas City, like maybe hail or severe wind. Things that could cause damage to your roof. Century Roofing KC can take care of those needs. Look, you'll notice if there's hail damage, and you'll know if maybe you need your roofing looked at by a professional. They've got a no-pressure inspection with trusted roofing experts over at Century Roofing to determine if enough damage exists to warrant filing a claim with your insurance company. They've been doing it for 35 years in Kansas City, worked on my roof. They're the kind of company you can trust for how long they've been in the market, for the 30,000 roofs that they've done in the greater Kansas City area, because they've been voted Best of Johnson County 3 years in a row. Everything points to a roofing company you can trust being Century Roofing right here in Kansas City. Take a chance, book your inspection today or after the storms on Friday, and see what comes that way and assess that damage to determine. Trust the pillars of strength with KC Basin female-owned Century Roofing. Visit centuryroofingkc.com to book your inspection now.
March is officially here. Come enjoy some great basketball at The Other Place. With 5 area Kansas City locations, The Other Place is a one-of-a-kind game day experience with dine-and-only specials during every tournament game. Come stop by The Other Place, Shawnee, Olathe, downtown Overland Park, Mission, and the newest one in Belton.
It's March matchup season at BetMGM. Ready to shoot your shot? Lock in your picks for this year's tournament with the sportsbook born in Vegas. Being on the sidelines is one thing. This March, get into the game with exciting state-of-the-art live tracking technology, exclusive sportsbook selections, and so much more. Check out BetMGM Originals for dozens of markets you won't find anywhere else. Take a shot at our exciting free-to-play games for your chance at scoring odds boost tokens, bonus bets, and many other prizes. Plus, new players can score up to $1,500 in bonus bets if their first bet loses. From the big dogs to the underdogs, March matchups at BetMGM is a player's best friend. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Kansas only. First bet offers for new customers only. All other promotions for existing customers. Subject to eligibility requirements and rewards may vary. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
I'm McCall with Lee Summit Subaru, and it's time to make a big deal out of nothing. Announcing Lee Summit Subaru's 0% event. Zero, like in 0% financing. Zero is back. Up to 0% financing on select 2024 and 2025 Subaru models for 72 months. And we're 2024 Google's highest review rated and only locally owned Subaru retailer in Kansas City. 0% event. The Subaru A Lot to Love event at Lee Summit Subaru.
Google highest review rated Subaru retailer in Kansas City based on Google Analytics.
Hey, it's Dick Ray. Why do they call us the heating, AC, and plumbing magician? We show up on time, diagnose and fix the problem quickly without breaking the bank. And now we have our own madness going on in March with our Dick Ray BOGO deal. Schedule a $99 AC tune-up by March 31st and receive your furnace tune-up next fall for free. Come on, sing it with me.
Call Dick Ray, he's your cooling magician. Dick Ray is a man on a mission.
Call Aspen Lawn and Pest Control. Our iconic blue trucks and expert team get it right the first time. Award-winning full-service lawn care and pest control since 1985. Call today for a free estimate. Visit aspenlawn.com.
I love saving money, and Hy-Vee is always helping my family fight inflation. Not only has Hy-Vee lowered prices all over the store, they also help me save a ton of money on gas. In fact, multiple times in the last few months, I've saved over $1 per gallon with Hy-Vee Fuel Savers. I love seeing the price on the pump drop dramatically each time I fill up. This Saturday and Sunday, save 30 cents per gallon on gas with every $60 you spend on groceries. Stack up the savings. The more you spend, the more you'll save on your next fill-up, only at Hy-Vee.
Hy-Vee's new fresh fried donuts are pure melt-in-your-mouth happiness with icing on top. Fresh out of the fryer every morning, you'll fall in love at first bite. Mix and match your favorite glazed donuts, donut holes, fritters, twists, cream-filled Long John, sprinkles, and gourmet delights. Pick up a dozen today. You'll be the hero of the morning meeting, queen of the book club, classroom parent of the year. Sweeten someone's day with decadent fresh fried donuts only from Hy-Vee.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this: if something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month, with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
All power, zero compromise. Ego cordless outdoor power equipment features advanced lithium battery technology that exceeds the power and performance of gas without the noise, fuss, or fumes. From blowers and trimmers to mowers and pressure washers, one battery powers over 90 tools. No wonder it is the #1 rated brand in cordless outdoor power. Power beyond belief. Visit egopowerplus.com to learn more or to find an Ego retailer near you. That's egopowerplus.com.
Go to 965thefan.com for the Fiery Hot Sevens contest, where you can win a $30 instant scratch ticket, and one person will win the grand prize, a Bobby Witt Jr. autographed jersey and framing, all thanks to our friends at the Kansas Lottery. Go check out 96.5 The Fan's Instagram page for videos, giveaways, and behind-the-scenes content. Your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5 The Fan, KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2, Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station. What's trending?
What's Trending is presented by Baker University, where graduates earn higher salaries and land jobs faster than any other university in Kansas. Apply today at bakeru.edu. Number 1 on What's Trending, Bobby Witt Jr. A little scary yesterday. Got hit at the time, we thought, in the hand or wrist. The Royals said it was his forearm. Ultimately, x-rays were negative. No clear timetable is set to return for Bobby, but I know Fesco was reporting this morning that 5 to 6 days is what he's hearing that he'll be out for. But the disaster, worst-case scenario stuff.
Not a long-term thing is what Passer was saying last night.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is good. Obviously, across the board, Vern said he looked okay. Our guy Vinny Pasquantino sent out a photo of him last night using both hands and arms in order to send out a tweet with the prayer hand emojis up. I'm sure it's always scary when you initially think that you've had that serious injury. Next up on What's Trending, speaking of injuries, Cooper Kupp has left his ACC tournament game with an apparent ankle injury. He's been seen being pushed in a wheelchair to go get x-rays after landing awkwardly on that ankle. Obviously, that would have massive, massive, massive implications on the NCAA tournament. They're one of the best teams in the country. He's the best player in the country. And so there's a lot of questions. Plus, he's supposed to be, the number 1 overall pick, probably in next year's NBA or this year's NBA draft. So a lot to keep an eye on there with Cooper Flagg, who did leave the game with an ankle injury and was being seen pushed down the tunnel in a wheelchair.
I'll be really interested how the injury information is put out there, because you're trying to protect your seeding and everything. Not that they wouldn't be a number 1 seed still, but just from a overall seed and how the committee would view it. Like, if all of a sudden they knew Cooper Flagg was done for the year, there's reason that they would not share that information until Sunday after the selection show. They're not supposed to do that, but teams have done that in the past. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. Elsewhere, when what's trending, Xavier Worthy's ex-fiancée has filed a civil suit after releasing a statement yesterday, also saying she'll let the legal process take place. There's now 2 counter complaints out there. Basically, it sounds like this thing's just about to get uglier when it comes to ultimately, I will say, on the personal side,
long civil fight,
away from the field kind of stuff, and how both parties ultimately move forward with that. But there was a story from Pro Football Talk that lawyers for Xavier Worthy's fiance issued competing statements after entry of a temporary protective order was granted by a judge down there. So this is not resolved from that end, that standpoint. But
at least just more news, at least on that, and we'll keep an eye on it as time goes on. Next up on What's Trending, Big 12 tournament taking place down at T-Mobile Center. Our Big 12 tournament coverage on 96.5 The Fan is brought to you by Twin Peaks, Eats, Drinks, Scenic Views. Iowa State has opened up a 38-25 lead. They were down 25-15, like, I don't know, 3 minutes ago. They pretty much hit every single three since. Been a high scored.
Yeah, 35 or 32, not 25.
38-32. They were down 25-15.
You said 38-25. It's all good. No worries.
Okay, 38-32, the score right now, at least over there for Iowa State versus BYU. Colorado and Houston will take place at 2 o'clock. Kansas at Arizona tonight at 6:30 as well, if you want to get some of the local action in.
Yeah, the Big 12,
Missouri tonight. Big 12 SEC tournament.
Big 12 tournament going to be another busy day down at Power and Light. We'll keep an eye on that with more updates throughout the show as well. Next on What's Trending, the Royals just put out another teaser video. I don't know if you saw, they've been teasing out this Hall of Fame video. Basically, last night they put out a video where it's George Brett and Ned Yost and these guys were all playing poker. And they keep and so they just put out another video where they're knocking on someone's door, and then the door opens and then it just says "to be continued." It's for a Hall of Fame inductee. We all assume this is Gordon, right?
That's my assumption.
That's the guess for everybody.
Well, when they were playing in the previous one, when they were talking about Mike Moustakas or the pool thing, they said 4 is wild. So
it's George
Brett said that, so I gotta just assume it's Alex Gordon. Yeah,
and they show somebody walking, and I don't know, it almost looks like we've seen enough Alex Gordon. It almost looks like it's him walking.
You almost know what he's looking like?
Now somebody else knocking on the door, but I don't know, man. I think they're just teasing this out for as long as possible, but we assume it'll be Alex Gordon maybe as the newest inductee to the
Little
Royals
fun
Hall of
videos
Fame.
though. Good job by the social media team over there. Get all those former Hall of Famers together to have a little fun.
That is What's Trending. Don't forget, when we talk Big 12 tournament, our Big 12 tournament coverage on 96.5 The Fan, brought to you by KRT Muscle Cream. A body in motion stays in motion with KRT Muscle Cream. We will head out to Arizona a little bit later on this hour, around 12:40, and check in with Josh Vern. He'll have the very latest on the injury status of Bobby Witt Jr. But as we mentioned during What's Trending, it looks like they avoided worst-case scenario kind of stuff, and they're just going to be cautious with him moving forward. X-rays were negative. But let's talk some more college basketball. K-State had their season come to an end last night, and I think it's a deeper discussion, not only just hey, last night was probably a prime example of who they've been for much of the season, but Coleman Hawkins, who was not good last night, has had an up-and-down, inconsistent season. He was the big prize transfer portal target.
$2 million.
$2 million NIL portal. And with that comes pressure, comes scrutiny. And today's day and age of college basketball with NIL, if you're making that kind of money, you are going to be expected to perform at a certain level. Now, I don't think it means you should go on social media and be a complete a-hole to a 19-year-old or a 28-year-old, right? And some people think that because someone makes $2 million, it gives them the right to do that. Now, in terms of being fairly critical of performance, yeah, man, that's the name of the game that you've now signed up for if you're going to be making that kind of money. So as long as you don't cross the line, I have no problem with how people want to be critical of college players now more than ever. That's just where we're at in college basketball. And Coleman Hawkins was very emotional after the loss last night, and he took a lot of responsibility for the season.
I really wanted to come in and impact the program, and some of the stuff, the outcome, obviously wasn't what we wanted. And I feel like I let a lot of people down. And I feel like I did a poor job of letting people talk about me and it affect my play. And it was evident all year, and I wish I could just go back, block out everything, not for myself, but for the team, so we could have had a more successful year.
So that was Coleman Hawkins.
That was hard. That was
senior,
tough to see.
Yeah, obviously very emotional. And I think what he's experiencing and saying out loud is probably how a lot of players now and in the future are going to feel if they don't perform at a certain level. There's the scrutiny on social media. There's just the scrutiny that's going to come more than ever. And there's no fixing this. I mean, this is where we're at now in college basketball. You don't perform, you're going to feel it.
Yeah, people are going to be more critical of your play.
Like a professional athlete would.
Yeah, I don't think that that's unfair. I mean, I don't think that it's unfair to say we are going to be more critical now of, players because they're more like professionals. They are still, there's always a shape because they are still kids. Like a 20-year-old, 22-year-old. Now, in Kansas' case, they got like 2 kids in their 30s, it seems like, based on how long Hunter Dickinson's been in school. That's a full-grown adult, probably at that point. But I understand the criticism that comes with the college athletics, and now that there is money tied to it, and we know the money. I think there's always some level of money tied to college athletics, and we're kind of stupid if we think otherwise. But now that there's more and it's public and we can see it, I get it. But K-State just, in all retrospect of their season, they just pulled the curtain over our eyes for a very brief stretch in the middle of the regular season. And if you were paying attention at any other time, this is roughly who they were. They could just lay an egg. Last night, Coleman Hawkins had a bad game. Because of that, they can't win a game in which Coleman Hawkins goes 0 in the first half. So they got beat by Baylor, and they were unable to recover. The middle of the season stretch is still the one that absolutely fools me in the sense how did they go through that run? They beat Iowa State, one of the 10 best teams in the country. They then beat Arizona State, beat Kansas, beat Arizona, another tournament team, and then eventually succumbed to BYU at the end of the run. I was like, what the hell happened there? And they beat Oklahoma State and West Virginia before that. Those aren't very good basketball teams, but at least, they beat them. There was that stretch of time when it looked like Kansas State had been lying to us this whole time. And realistically, last night, it's a lot closer to what their reality was.
Yeah, that's what they were for much of the season. And for Coleman Hawkins, because he's a senior, Jerome Tang was asked about postseason tournament stuff. Obviously not the NCAA tournament, but would they play in one of these consolation tournaments? There's a new one called the Crown Tournament or something, or whatever it is. Fox created. What is
College
it called?
Crown.
College Crown. And they basically, or Jerome Tang basically said, yeah, we're not playing in that because a lot of our 2 seniors not going to want to play in that. It would be too late in the process and all that. And why play in something like that? So that should be the end of the Kansas State basketball season. I want to actually pivot for a second. We were going to talk Kansas, but more photos are coming out of it. So Cooper Flagg, one of the top, if not the top player in college basketball who left the ACC quarterfinal today, has emerged, according to reports from the Hornets x-ray room. That's where they're playing, in the Charlotte Hornets building. Still in a wheelchair, left ankle heavily swollen. There's a photo circulating now. Looks like he's very emotional as well, as you would expect. Right before the tournament, this doesn't seem like, he's just, he'll be good to go in 3 days. That's a problem, and also terrible for college basketball if the best player in the country, some reason, were to miss any or part of the NCAA tournament. But not a good scene for Duke. Their chances. Also, you just wonder about him individually with the draft prospects that he has. Hopefully, it looks way worse than what it actually is. I mean,
again, Cooper Flagg is the single biggest star in the sport, and college basketball doesn't get stars that everybody knows in college quite the way it used to. Maybe it's because of the amount of time they're in there. Maybe because big stars coming through the collegiate game only happens every couple of years. He's for college basketball, he's pretty close to a household name. Cooper Flagg to be out for any length of time in the NCAA tournament. My same rule applies as college football as college basketball. I don't think you're a 1 seed, you're a 1 seed. You performed up to your task. I hate that we change it based on let's say he's not available through the. Let's just say
they'll still be a 1 seed, but they may. If you thought they're if there was a chance, still they'd be the number 1 overall seed. If the injury information actually came out before, which is why I think they're going to be really cautious.
Very careful.
Yeah, that it can impact your number 1 overall seed. They will still be a number 1 seed just because I don't think the information is going to come out.
But if this is how college football playoff did it, then they should be a 4 now. Their best player out. I mean, what's the point, right? They can't, and I'm not saying they can't win, but I don't want seeding impacted by it. This is awful news for college basketball. They were one of the 3 biggest favorites to win the entire thing, the whole tournament.
So I actually had it on over here as it happened, and he was in enough pain where he was getting worked on. He was biting into a towel and yelling as it was getting worked on. I think best case scenario is he's out a week or 2. Best
I don't know
case
yet.
scenario.
Yeah, I mean I don't know. I don't know if it's
We got a week before the tournament starts.
I don't know.
Maybe it could be a Friday game.
It doesn't seem like something where he'll be fine in 4 days. I also don't want to say like he's out for the tournament or something like that. It's way too. Look, it's the photo that's been circulating. It's very clearly the left ankle is swollen, as you would expect.
He just went up to grab a rebound and just came down and his leg buckled.
That's always. I always feel like that's worse. Like basketball, a little more common because you can just like roll an ankle or whatever. True, but. You know how we feel about non-contact injuries. Like, just a bad feeling. Duke this morning was plus 330. They had the second best odds to win the NCAA tournament. Auburn was at plus 310. They are now already down to plus 700 just based on the fact that he had to get wheeled off the court.
Rather than just take it off the board.
Well, that's over at, one of the sports books. Like, you still can bet him right now. I don't know why. They will eventually. You know this works cold. They will eventually until they get more injury information.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's really tough for college hoops.
Yeah, it's terrible. Hope the kid's okay. We don't know. He came down with an ankle injury, and now they'll get an x-ray. We'll find out. Like yesterday, I was worried for 30 minutes that Bobby Witt Jr. was going to miss some serious time because he came down with the injury, and at least he didn't. Let's continue the college basketball talk since Kansas will play tonight against an Arizona team who you've pointed out they beat about a week ago. Just like, this is the most underwhelming Kansas team. Even like last night, it's glimpses. 2 minutes where I'm like, yeah, Kansas kind of looks like a fundamental basketball team who can move the ball around and know how they want to score. And then 2 minutes later, it's an 8-0 run by the opponent, like in UCF last night. And where you're like, why do you keep letting this team back in? They could have put UCF away 4, 5 different times in that game last night is what it felt like. Let it get to overtime, even though it shouldn't, which is tough in a Big 12 tournament. You don't want to play extra overtimes and do all that. It got close again towards the end of overtime. Every time they got up 4 or 5 points, even one time, double digits, UCF just came right back. And a lot of that is because they're not a very good defensive team. We spent a lot of time talking about this with Missouri, but Kansas has got their own struggles in perimeter defense, and they kind of rely on somebody outside of Hunter Dickinson being good on offense. Last night, they got Zeke Mayo and A.J. Storr. Can they get that twice? Can they get that again against Arizona tonight? I don't know.
Anybody that's watched KU this season, last night should not have been a surprise how the game played out. There were moments, yes, where you were getting excited. A.J. Storr hadn't done anything all year, has his best game as a member of the Kansas Jayhawks. You're thinking, wow, okay, maybe just in time for the tournament. At the same time, KJ Adams couldn't catch a basketball. Bill Self's drawn up ISO plays for him late instead of for Hunter Dickinson or Zeke Mayo. The game gets to overtime. Give credit to UCF. They made, 14 or 15 threes in the game, and that's their style of basketball. They were able to keep it very close in the game at Allen Fieldhouse earlier in the season as well when Kansas was able to hold on for a victory. So that ended up being the issue, again, perimeter defense for Kansas. And tonight against Arizona, Arizona's a much better team than UCF, but even matchup-wise, we were like, Arizona's not just going to run it up and chuck it, which might be something that favors Kansas a little bit more because their perimeter defense is weak. But they're going to, of course, have to play a lot better. I thought offensively they really weren't that bad last night. It was the defense yet again that wasn't great. I actually thought offensively because when you look at Hunter Dickinson, who led the team in scoring, Zeke Mayo led the team in scoring. Hunter Dickinson was right there, and then 19 from A.J. Storr. That kind of offensive output if you got that from those three all of a sudden out of nowhere, you're in good shape. The problem is defensively they were pitiful.
Yeah, because to get that out of A.J. Storr and still in a game against UCF, that's more concerning than is exciting in a lot of ways. Like, you haven't gotten that level of production out of A.J. Storr the entire basketball season, and now kind of feels like he gets stuck in no man's land. Little news in Major League Baseball, by the way. The Tampa Bay Rays, according to Jeff Passan, will not proceed with the development of a $1.3 billion baseball stadium in St. Petersburg, Florida. Continues to be interesting, Gold, in my opinion, because of the stadium situation for the Royals, and kind of as they continue to try to get their stadium built, they're gone, right? No more Tampa Bay Rays if they're not going to build a $1.3 billion stadium. And their owner the other day is like, I can afford to build the new roof, but would I? And so, if that's the case, they're gone. Nashville?
The county commissioners there in Tampa in November, obviously new members of the board or whatever were elected. And so some of them that they thought they had the votes for before are no longer yeses. And so that was the first issue. And then there was a report 3 days ago that MLB owners are pressuring the current Rays owner to sell the team. Like they want him out because there's other groups that are willing to pay more money, and the owners in baseball want revenue share of the sale. And so it's a way for them to all make some money. And
Get rid of your team.
They know that an owner in another market, whether it's Montreal, whether it's Nashville, whether it's Portland, these other markets already have groups kind of in place. Certainly Nashville does. So yeah, it's going to be one to watch. And the fact that they're abandoning their plan, I mean, the Rays, if you're not fixing the roof, if you're not building a new stadium, you're not playing at a spring training park for the next decade. So, yeah, I think we know kind of where this is trending for the Rays. It would not surprise me at all in the next calendar year if we find out they're for sale.
Adds a little bit to the ugliness that the Royals are dealing with. Other teams also are, just in sports. I feel like kind of the attitude has changed. Other teams are also having a difficulty getting some of these stadium projects done and done in a way. Like they had a deal done. Remember, Vegas had to keep going back and forth because it seemed like they had their deal done, Gold, and then didn't. So, like, there is a part of it that kind of makes it a bit of a challenge where you run into these major financing stuff, and then it probably doesn't help that, like, the stadium got ripped up. They had nowhere to play outside of it. Now they just have no reason to stay in Tampa Bay, right? They're playing in a spring training facility. The Yankees spring training facility for Rays games this year. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if they're going to convince him to sell his team. I would if I were them because the relocation fee stinks. I'd rather just sell and let somebody else relocate. I'm going to get out. Whatever he paid for the Rays, it's probably got to be worth a lot more now. How long has he been the Rays?
I don't think this guy's losing money. Don't worry. Yeah. I don't know. Rays ownership group. I don't know if it's just him or if there's a huge group involved. Let's see. Rays ownership. Stu Sternberg. What do you think he bought the team for? What's your guess?
When did they buy? That'll give me an idea.
Yeah, that's fair. Let me give you that's fair. Yeah, it's kind of hard to otherwise. Bought Rays. Let's see. He paid $200 million in 2004.
Oh man,
it's valued at 1.25.
Okay,
yeah.
Turn out probably fine.
But the owners want it to happen too because new ownership group's going to pay probably more than 1.2 if we're 1.25.
Yeah, probably more like 1.5.
And they get a cut of the. I don't know what the percentage is, but they get a share of the sale. Plus, if there's a relocation fee, there's fees associated with that go to the other. There's
owners.
also just been a problem with attendance in Tampa for many, many, many years.
It's not a good baseball town. And look, maybe it's ownership. Maybe this had got bad owners, and there's no reason to support a team. But like the Rays were like good for a while. They won a lot of games for a long time. They were a consistently decent baseball club for 10 years, and they had attendance issues. Like at that point, it's just like, well, then what's the point? What are we doing? This all goes back to my same theory, too, which is all stadiums should be smaller. Like, people should stop building stadiums bigger and bigger and bigger, which they did for a long time, and instead they need to shrink these things. Like, shrink them way down.
Yeah, depending on the market you're in, for sure.
Yeah, sure.
You're not going to do it in L.A. or New York, but yeah. I think the Royals, if they ever figure out where they're going.
One of their designs was for less.
Was going to be, lower capacity, which I think is fine.
Yeah. I mean, again.
It means if they make the playoffs, obviously it's going to be a hotter ticket, but it's a good problem to have at that point in time, I think, for everybody.
Yeah, but it also means when you go to a regular season game during that time, you'll be excited because it'll feel like a great atmosphere. I actually thought the atmosphere last night at Big 12 felt very pro-Kansas, but it seemed like, Drew, you were there in person. It seemed like a pretty good crowd.
Yeah, it was a really good crowd, particularly for the last game where obviously as things got more down to it, the fans rise on their feet and you can just feel the buzz and everything like that. It was very good. I'm sure it's the same way there. Obviously, we only have so many crowd shouts, but I would assume
have you
today
seen
entirely
what's going on
in
this? Have you seen what's going on in this game right now?
Which one?
They've almost got 100. They've got 100 combined points essentially.
53 to 49.
It's the first half, and it's 53-49. They can't miss. Unreal. It looks like it's a fun first half. We've obviously only been peeking over at the TV.
I also saw that Cooper Flagg is back on the bench. He got wheeled out in a wheelchair.
I mean, good.
All right, Paul
good.
Pierce. Jeez.
Good, though.
Now he's back on the bench?
Well, just because he's sitting on the bench doesn't mean he could be sitting.
He walked out to the bench.
Well,
using his legs.
He probably got some medicine. He's not playing. He's not going to play. That would be the all-time just turnaround. He's obviously done playing the ACC tournament. I think there's no way he plays again in the ACC tournament. No, this Iowa State game is just absolutely insane. It was Iowa State shooting 60%. BYU shooting 50%. Iowa State shooting 58% from three. BYU 47% from three. Just an insane first half. The total was 146.5. It is 186. You just have to laugh at that one. You just have to flat out laugh how ridiculous of a first half that was in terms of scoring.
Fun one. If
All
you've
right.
been down to the Big 12 tournament, enjoy.
Up next, guys, we'll not only be joined by Josh Vern, our Royals insider, but let's talk more about where Aaron Rodgers could head. There's new details out there, including the Steelers signing a different quarterback.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
What's up, guys? It's Drew. You know, maybe you're sitting here listening to Cody and Gold, and you're thinking, man, I need an energy boost, some caffeine or something like that to get through the rest of my day and be able to perform. What if in the bedroom it was a similar thing and you needed some extra confidence to be able to perform when you need to? I'm talking about Blue Chew. Your partner wants you to do whatever it takes to make your sex life better, and Blue Chew is your secret weapon for the bedroom or wherever you decide to get it on. Blue Chew is an online prescription service where you get with their medical providers. They work with you to find the right ingredient and strength for your prescription. And if you don't like swallowing pills, that's no problem because Blue Chew's tablets are chewable. If you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, visit BlueChew.com and take advantage of our great offer and get your first month free when you use our promo code KFNZ at checkout. You just pay $5 in shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code KFNZ to receive your first month free. Then you'll be ready to chew it and do it.
Here's a question. Would you take your storm-damaged car to a body shop that only did bumpers? Of course not. So why call just a roofing company after your entire home or business goes through a storm? Get more than a roofer. Get an experienced restoration team. Get Pack Construction Services. We're seasoned construction professionals and, are you ready? Former insurance adjusters. Our 100 years of diverse and specialized experience means faster repairs, fewer hassles, and fewer delays. Our emergency response team is on call 24/7 for storm damage, fire, water, and even mold restoration. Veteran-owned, Kansas City trusted. No one will care more for your home or business inside and out than we will. We're ready when you need us. Visit PackKC.com and schedule a free inspection. With KC's recent storm history, there's a good chance you could already have covered damage. Find out today at PackKC.com. That's PACTKC.com.
From fast breaks to buzzer beaters to block parties, there's nothing as exciting as basketball. With Underdog, you can bring that excitement to wherever you watch. Playing on their app is as easy as choosing higher or lower on player stats like threes made, points, rebounds, and so much more. I love the Underdog app. So get those selections right, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money. It's so much fun. Millions of fans have won over billions on Underdog. Will you be the next? It's simple to join the fun. Join in by signing up for the Underdog app today using promo code BOB, and you'll get a free selection as part of your first cash entry. Plus, up to 1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Getting engaged? At Shane Company, we'll help you find the perfect diamond. This is your engagement ring, aka only your life's most important piece of jewelry. No need to worry. As gemstone experts since 1929, we handpick only the most beautiful natural and lab-grown diamonds cut to our high standards in every price range. We have diamonds in all shapes and sizes, ready to compare side by side right here in our store. Come see for yourself at Shanco.com or at your local store. No appointment necessary. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Fabric Talk. Hello, my love. I am your living room carpet. I see everything. I feel everything. After a while, I smell like everything, including Sir Pickles, who you snuggle with while binging that dating show you can't stop watching. So, how about we freshen things up with Febreze Fabric Spray? Oh, and a big spray for my pals, couch and ottoman. Ah, yes, refreshing. Breathe happy, Febreze. La 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 la.
It's time to find out who was in the zone. Presented by AutoZone. With a little over a month left in the season, the hockey playoffs are coming into view with teams fighting for their spots. Nobody is hotter right now than Tampa Bay, as they did not lose in regulation during the month of February. With a tougher stretch of opponents ahead and a lot to play for, can they continue their dominance to skate to the top of the standings? In the Zone is brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Saving for retirement was tough enough for us.
Yes, and navigating markets can be challenging at times.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we take a disciplined approach with your investments.
Tell us more about that.
We take an active approach to money management, positioning your portfolio for opportunities we see ahead.
So all your clients get the same portfolio?
No, we tailor your portfolio to your individual goals and needs.
What about communication? We don't like being left in the dark.
We check in regularly to keep you informed on the markets and your portfolio.
Which means you'll help us stay on track.
Yes, our goal is your comfortable retirement. And as a fiduciary, we always put your interests first, because we do better when you do better. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Drowning in IRS debt? If you can't afford to pay your IRS debt due to economic hardship, you can now be free of IRS collection efforts by taking advantage of a special IRS tax hardship program. This program allows Americans who owe the IRS to resolve their delinquent tax debt once and for all. In some cases, maybe even reducing what you owe significantly. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Simply dial 800-485-7220. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back or have years of unfiled tax returns, help is standing by. Just call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-485-7220 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-485-7220 to see if you qualify. That's 800-485-7220.
This report is brought to you by CareNow Urgent Care. Find one near you at carenow.com.
CareNow Urgent Care has 15 Kansas City area locations open 7 days a week. From injuries and illnesses to school and sports physicals, CareNow Urgent Care is here to help you feel better fast. Find a location near you at carenow.com and use our convenient web check-in today.
Opening day coverage is brought to you by Hollywood Casino. Stop by Hollywood Casino every Wednesday in March from 12 until 2 to register for your chance to win opening day tickets. Your home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan. You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Coming up in about 8 minutes or so, we'll head out to Surprise, Arizona, check in with our Royals insider, Josh Vern. Don't forget, though, Basketball Madness comes to KC for the NAIA Men's College Basketball Championship, March 20th through the 25th at Municipal Auditorium. 16 teams, 15 games, one national champion. Bring the family for nonstop action and affordable tickets. Get yours today at NAIAHoops.com. We'll let you know if there's any new information when it comes to college basketball today. For those just joining us, Cooper Flagg left with what appears to be a fairly serious ankle injury in the Duke game. Now he has returned to the bench. I don't think anybody's expecting to see him playing anytime soon.
Doubtful to come back in the game.
Yeah, had X-rays examined and all that. I don't know. We'll find out after the game from John Shire. But you're talking about the best player in college basketball, number 1 overall pick, assuming he comes out for the draft, all of that, and one of the favorites to win the national championship. That's why it is of note, to say the least, today. But let's go to the NFL a little bit. Aaron Rodgers still has not made a decision. That hasn't changed. The Pittsburgh Steelers have signed a quarterback today.
Is it Aaron Rodgers?
Mason Rudolph, a 2 years, $8 million deal. They now have
He's
one
back,
quarterback.
You know?
One
the
quarterback.
prodigal son returns.
Right. They have one quarterback under contract. And there was some speculation last night from some NFL insiders that Aaron Rodgers is considering the Minnesota Vikings, and maybe that's part of the holdup. Part of the holdup is just Aaron Rodgers likes the attention. Like we've established that year after year after year. Why Minnesota? You're going to go there. Maybe they would promise you to start, and then if you perform well, I guess you pull a Darnold and you just start all year. Otherwise, if I'm the Vikings, why would I not just go with J.J. McCarthy? Why am I even going down the veteran? Like, I need a backup quarterback there because McCarthy's question mark. But why would I go get a different backup quarterback? And if you're Rodgers, what are you waiting for? The Steelers is an unreal opportunity considering the year
way
you
better
had.
than you deserve to get. You rated out as one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL last year. You're at best, if you're an optimist right now, an average NFL quarterback. Maybe there's some upside beyond that, but like someone signing you, they think they're getting an average NFL quarterback. They're hoping they get an average NFL quarterback. It makes no sense to me. I understand why you'd want to play for Minnesota. I have no idea why Minnesota would want to do that. You want a veteran? If J.J. McCarthy has to miss 4 games, get a veteran who can get the hell out of the way once that time hits. Go get your Carson Wentz. Go get some other guy who's made starts in the NFL. Do not go Aaron Rodgers. He is toxic to your organization. Do you not see what he just did to the Jets? I can't believe Aaron Rodgers is even thinking about it. That the Steelers are like, please, Aaron, please come sign with us. We're asking so nicely that he wouldn't immediately sign that. It's crazy to me. Does it make, it makes no sense to me. I don't think the Vikings are really interested. The report is he's interested. Is there some part of him that's like, maybe I shouldn't go the exact Brett Favre path?
I don't think that factors into
Packers
his
to the
thinking.
Jets to the Vikings.
That's a fun like fan social media thing. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is thinking, man, if I go there, it's just like Brett Favre. I think that's just a fan thing. Someone says because Aaron Rodgers wants to win a Super Bowl, that's why he would go to the Vikings. Again, two different things. One, if you're the Vikings, why would you go down that path? I also push back on the notion that Aaron Rodgers is going to a Super Bowl anytime again in his career.
I don't think he's the kind of quarterback who just bolts you to the Super Bowl anymore.
He's an average, below average quarterback. Now, I'm not saying, of course, he's a Hall of Famer. We got to stop thinking he's the same guy he was 5 or 6 years ago. He's not. He had an unbelievable career. But the last couple of years, he has been what he's been, which is average, below average. That's what you're getting. I'm saying the Steelers make sense because he's clearly the starter there. There's nobody, you're not looking over your shoulder at Mason Rudolph if you're Aaron Rodgers. You have a head coach that's been going to the playoffs consistently. I love Kevin O'Connell, but if I'm Kevin O'Connell, you just, in Minnesota, you just drafted J.J. McCarthy. He got hurt, plus Sam Darnold was going to be the starter anyway. You moved on from Darnold, which tells me the minute you moved on from Darnold, you were ready to start J.J. McCarthy, not move on from Darnold just to bring in Aaron Rodgers for another year.
No, it wouldn't make any sense. Like
Probably because they don't have to pay Aaron. They don't have to pay Aaron what they'd have to pay Sam Darnold, though.
Here's the thing Aaron Rodgers has to his advantage, and he's going to take it to it, is he loves the publicity. There was like a photo of him on a beach hanging out and all this nonsense, is that he knows that the Steelers don't have another choice. There's not some other than just signing Russ off the street, and I guess he's going to visit Cleveland. Russ should take any job anybody offers, too, because at least he'll have a chance. He probably would be the starter in Cleveland over Kenny Pickett. Not sure why you give up a 5th-round pick for Kenny Pickett if you're just going to sign Russ. And the Cleveland fans, they're ready to just bail on this season, get the hell out of this Deshaun Watson contract in a year and a half, 2 years, and start fresh themselves. And so it's like, why are you the Steelers? They're one of the, like, more stable franchises. They've got 2 wide receivers right now that look pretty good. They've got solid defense. They got one of the league's best defensive players. Like, that's not a good enough fit for you? What the hell are you trying to get? Did they tell you can't bring Randall Cobb in or something? What's the issue here?
I have a question. If Aaron Rodgers signs with the Steelers, do you consider them a legitimate Super Bowl threat anyways?
No.
That's why he wants to go to the Vikings.
I don't consider the Vikings a legitimate Super Bowl threat either.
I understand that, but I think before the season started last year, we would consider Sam Darnold to be the same as Aaron Rodgers or worse. And they went 13-3 and everything like that. So who's to say that they can't do the same thing with Aaron Rodgers?
Is like 70 years old.
I know,
that is a fair point.
I just think that
it's a fair point.
That's why Aaron is interested, and that's where if you're the Vikings, you got to figure out what you really want, because obviously, as Cody said, it takes 2 to tango. Where if no matter how much Aaron Rodgers wants the Vikings, if the Vikings are like, we'll pass, then Aaron Rodgers will have no choice. Maybe that's what he's just hanging on to, I guess, in terms of maybe the Vikings will give me a shot, and he hasn't heard back, or I don't know, something along those lines.
This is now twice in the last 2 weeks. I can't remember the exact example 2 weeks ago. What's Rappaport doing, like trying to make things bigger stories than they are? He's not getting in a fight, but this is the tweet he had sent out earlier when Mac Jones signed with the 49ers. Said, one of the big what-ifs in the NFL over the last decade. What if the 49ers had drafted Mac Jones instead of Trey Lance? We'll never know, but Jones will finally know what it's like to be coached by Kyle Shanahan. Can I ask a question? Is one of the great mysteries of the last decade in the NFL, what if the 49ers took Mac Jones instead of Trey Lance? What if they both stink? I don't what if
It's not like they signed him to be their starter either. They signed him to be a backup to their quarterback who they picked dead last in the draft.
That was just like a really funny phrasing. One of the biggest what ifs of the last decade? I mean, I guess Mac Jones would have lasted longer than Trey Lance did in a 49ers uniform, but I don't think it's some great mystery. I haven't been sitting around wondering what if they had taken Mac Jones all those years ago. I've watched Mac Jones play. He's not particularly good.
Yeah, someone on the text line said we're making it seem like Aaron Rodgers had a way worse year than what he did. He had similar numbers to Patrick Mahomes. I would say a couple things. Context matters. Aaron Rodgers was playing in a lot of meaningless football games and racking up numbers when his team was trailing late in games. The other thing, from a pro football focus grade perspective, we know that's not favorable to Patrick Mahomes typically either. Aaron Rodgers was 18th. What did we say? We said he was average to below average. He was 18th, so he was an average quarterback. There's 32 starting. Last year, more than 32 started, but you get the point. 32 teams. He was 18th. That's an average or below average quarterback. I think that's pretty
fair. And the
fair.
bigger issue is like, if I get an average quarterback, I don't need a headache. Like, if I'm getting an average quarterback, I want Sam Darnold. I want, like, Mr. Do-Right. You know, I want the guy who doesn't get in the way, doesn't stand in the way of the organization, shows up, does his job, keeps quiet. You know, like, I kind of want, if I'm getting an average quarterback, I want Mr. Do-Right. I don't want Aaron Rodgers. That's the opposite of the kind of attention I want if I have a mediocre quarterback.
Now, we've gotten too far. Someone says he's played his way out of the Hall of Fame. Okay, stop. He is going to be a Hall of Famer. He'll probably still be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
he had an unbelievable career. Let's not let the last 3 or 4 years of chaos and everything else, whatever you want to call it, cloud our judgment on that. He's still going to be a Hall of Famer. Come on now. Come on.
Maybe the Steelers are going to trade for Joe Burrow is what the text line's suggesting now, you know?
Yeah, I know. These guys.
They should try, you know?
Can't have to call.
Barber sent me a picture last night. He was in Cincinnati, apparently.
Really?
He took a picture of Paycor. I was like, hey, while you're at it, go over there and tell him to spend some money. Barbershop.
They might be signing Barber to shore up the defense.
Or if anything, Barber would go over
Barber
and
have to be the middle linebacker for that team.
He could probably start right now.
I mean, they don't have anybody else on that defense right now.
Either that or he'd go tell them they need to he'd actually make his pitch for trading Joe Burrow is what he would do.
Let's go and talk some Royals baseball with Josh Vern.
Make sure Bobby Witt Jr. still has an arm.
Yeah, our Royals Insider spring training coverage on 96.5 The Fan, brought to you by Park and Go, KC's premier airport parking destination. Vern, all right, let's just get right to it. Sounds like the Royals avoided disaster with Bobby Witt Jr. getting hit by a pitch.
Certainly. And listen, when you have forearms that bring back memories of Mickey Mantle and Mike Trout, yeah, it's going to be difficult to truly make a dent. And honestly, looking at him today, you can't even see a bruise. All you see are those behemoth forearms. He was out there earlier today, stretching with the guys, unsure if he's going to swing. And, you know, could still find himself in a Cactus League game as early as Sunday or Monday of next week. So certainly crisis averted. Christmas is still on. Opening day will still happen at Kauffman Stadium.
It was a kind of stressful 30 minutes to an hour, because when you see he's leaving, he'll be further evaluated, x-rays or schedule, and you're like, oh God. Because even they don't know at that point, right? I mean, they're telling you the same thing we don't know, which is where we're just going to go back there and get an x-ray and hope it's not broken.
Yeah, the only reason I was concerned was how quickly he capitulated and made his way to the dugout. Normally, and maybe it was because Salvador Perez wasn't in the dugout saying, get your ass to first base like he normally does. But Bobby's cut from that same cloth. The Mahomes, Salvador Perez, not only in their ability, their supreme ability, but also in the ability to bounce back after what appears to be a catastrophic injury. Their bodies respond differently than the average athlete, let alone the average person. So, you know, when I see Bobby go down to his knees and elbows, normally he doesn't show that type of pain. And let's be real here. You know, he's already been hit on the hand, wrist, forearm, elbow, half a dozen times in his big league career, and it's the same shock wave of anxiety coursing through the veins of all Royals fans when you see that. And so far, he's a perfect 6 for 6 in his ability to come back after said hit by pitch. And yeah, 96 from the hard throwing righty Munoz out of that Mariners bullpen. You could certainly hear it from the press box, and Bobby didn't even, if you've seen the video, Bobby didn't even make it a third of the way down the first baseline, which spits in the face of how he normally goes about his business. Now he's also, like Salvi, like Patrick, cerebral. He understands these games don't matter. We're 2 weeks away from the first game that matters in their redemption tour of 2025. So maybe that's why he gave into Q as easily as he did. But nonetheless, all is well.
I think fans were ready to go with pitchforks all the way out to Seattle and to find out. Was it just you think that pitch truly just one that slipped out? There's nothing weird going on or anything? Spring training.
I would certainly hope not. I mean, but Bobby wears the elbow pad for a reason. Munoz isn't a kid either. He's a quality reliever that lives on the inside part of the plate. And no, he certainly didn't do it on purpose. But if I'm him, yeah, sure, fine by me. I want Bobby to now take note every time you step in the box against me, and tell your friends, let the rest of Major League Baseball know I'm not afraid to go in. It's all good if I'm Munoz with the Mariners. That's what you want. You want guys intimidated stepping in the box.
My guess is,
as we see nowadays, guys are unabashed about it. They hang all over the dish.
Yeah, they don't play till June 30th. I think we'll all forget about it by then.
Sure.
Except for can they just walk Julio Rodriguez for the rest of time?
Yeah, it might be a good idea. And I mean, Gold, you said it a few weeks ago. That's your. You might take a flyer on that dude for American League MVP.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it is fun to watch him interact with the Mariners fans. He has that fan base, understandably, wrapped around his finger. But, boy, is he everything that we love about Bobby, Julio has the exact same thing with maybe an even more sparkly personality. He's fun to watch, man.
There's a couple of guys I want to ask you about, obviously, on the Royals roster. They're going to make the big league club. But look, we always get wrapped up in the Jack Caglione. Here comes the biggest name. I wanted to go to a different prospect. Gavin Cross has had a really, really, really good spring. And for a team that will eventually need outfield help, what have you made about what he's done in spring?
Yeah, he's been solid. Nothing that really drops my jaw.
Okay.
Do it over the course of a season. Listen. My conversations with him are reflective of a young man that has taken the next step as a professional, understanding that the off season is just as important as the regular season. What you put in your body is just as important as what you do out on the field. It's a sign of maturation, man. You can't wolf down McDonald's and skip days in the off season. It's because when you're doing that, there's some kid in A-ball, there's some kid in Venezuela, in the Dominican that is catching up and ultimately going to pass you by. We've talked about it in the past with Brady Singer implementing new pitches, MJ Melendez willing to adjust and try a new batting stance. If you're not willing to adjust or admit I don't know everything and I always have room for improvements, if you're not willing to do that, man, this game's going to chew you up and spit you out. Right? The average big league career is now less than 3 years. So not only do you never make it to free agency, you don't even get to arbitration. So Gavin Cross, yes, he's a first-round pick. Yes, he has all 5 tools. But there are a lot of guys in AA, AAA that have all 5 tools. It's what are you willing to sacrifice? How much does it mean to you? And what is that year-round work ethic look like? And it appears to me that Gavin Cross had that, come to Jesus moment at some point last season, took his off-season real serious, and hopefully it pays dividends this year because he certainly needs it because, there are other outfield options within the organization that could pass him up and could pass him up this season.
We're talking to our Royals insider, Josh Vern. Is it still too, quote unquote, early in spring training for the back end of the roster to have any separation? We were talking to you a couple weeks ago about a few guys that could factor in for some bench spots and maybe how this ultimately plays out in the outfield. Right now, health has been a good thing for everybody, even with the Bobby Witt Jr. scare. So is there any more solidification, I guess, on that?
Honestly, the bench battles have been, for the most part, disappointing. no one's really come out and taken a stranglehold. Nick Prado and Nelson Velasquez, to me, are playing hot potato with that. Neither one showing that they've improved on their deficiencies enough to where they've earned a spot on the roster. To me, Kevin Biggio, Harold Castro, not only with their versatility, but with their plate appearances, those two have stood out to me. And if we look at it as if there are 4 bench spots, Freddie Fermin's grabbing one of those. Dairon Blanco has received absolutely no competition for that backup center field job. Obviously, Blanco, great on the base paths. Drew Waters has been fine. I wouldn't say that he has disappointed, but he hasn't impressed. The guys that have impressed me that aren't the locks for the roster are, names like Gavin Cross or John Rave or Carter Jensen, Cam Devaney, guys that are either a year away from being a true contender to be in that opening day lineup or at least that opening day roster. And the other guys, to me, are AAA players having nice springs, but they need to put together another nice AAA season and have an opportunity at the big league, talking about the Waters and Rave and Devaney. Nice players, but I think things would need to go sideways for them to find themselves in the show this season. So, yeah, those final 2 spots on the bench, really, to use a word to describe it, it's been disappointing, and that brings me back to a point I made a few weeks ago about, the 9 guys, Salvi, Vinny, and Bobby, Massey, India, Garcia, Isbell, MJ, and Renfroe. Those 9 are going to see their names in the lineup 6 out of it. You would imagine 5 out of every 7 days, 6 out of every 7 days, just in different positions defensively, with Freddie getting the occasional start, Dairon spelling someone late in the game, and then whoever, if it's Biggio and Castro, those are just late game replacements because each of them can play all 4 infield spots, and Castro could even moonlight in the outfield if he needed him to.
Vern, last question, I think, for us, and then we'll let you get back to spring training. So we saw, obviously, the Bobby Witt stuff happened, and then we were worried. And then Vinny posted a photo of Bobby at their place, making sure that he was using both his hands to send out that tweet. He said he's staying with Bobby for spring. Do you think he chips in on rent?
I would hope not. No, Bobby's been letting the guys crash at his place out here in Arizona for a while. No. When you sign that contract, well, you know what? I don't know, man. They're in just such a different tax bracket. I don't know how they talk to one another, but just knowing Bobby as a person, I can't imagine that was the case. In today's edition of Vinny being Vinny in the clubhouse, he walks up to the group of couches and the guys razz him a little bit because everyone sitting on the couch was a draft pick in the first 10 rounds, and they were telling Vinny, you're an 11th round pick. You got to go sit over at that couch. So Vinny made a big deal about it. Seth Lugo came over and sat down, and Vinny goes, hey, Seth, I don't think you're allowed to sit here. Where were you drafted? Lugo responds, the 34th round. Vinny then chimes back, well, you know what? You don't even get to sit at a couch, man. Just go sit back at your locker.
Man, he's round shaming people.
Oh man.
Yes.
Right after it happened to him, man. How quickly it happens.
What do you got in store tonight? There's no K-State basketball, Vern, so you are full go tonight, 6:00 Hot Stove Show.
Oh man, EMA, man, heartbreaker. Again, the aforementioned Vinny Pasquantino scheduled to sit down with him. I told you guys Sam Long, and might have a chance to. Depending on, it all kind of depends on how deep this conversation gets with Vinny.
Mm-hmm.
But if time permits, the Royals Hall of Famer Mike Sweeney, and if not, we'll be sure to get him on the final edition of the Hot Stove next Thursday night.
Perfect. We'll be listening tonight. Vern's Hot Stove Show, 6:00 here on 96.5 The Fan. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
There you go. Vern joins us each and every day throughout spring training, right around 12:40.
2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
Opening day baseball here in Kansas City.
We were looking. We're like, we know it's going to change.
I can't wait.
We know it's going to change, but we were keeping an eye on the weather. So far, 68 and a 20% chance of rain. I'll take it. Take that if that's what it actually is. Hopefully that's what it is.
We've sat through some miserable ones. It snowed a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
There were flurries coming down as Bobby Witt Jr. scored the game-winning run his rookie year in the big leagues. Because they didn't stall in the 2 years.
68 would be incredible.
Are you kidding?
For an opening day in Kansas City?
Imagine the ticket probably fetch an extra $1 or $2 if that's the actual weather by the time it kicks around.
I bet you there are some fans that are waiting to see what the weather is before they pull the trigger on a pair of tickets for opening day. Even though, look, this team made the playoffs last year. I think opening day should be pretty good atmosphere and packed. There should be no empties on opening day.
Yeah, but if it's 70, that's when the secondary market starts to get a little more expensive to get in. That's all.
No question.
Not saying it won't be. I assume it'll be a sold-out crowd like it is opening days, even when they weren't good sometimes. But certainly when they made the playoffs last year, you would hope so.
All right, coming up next, we'll get another update in Big 12 tournament action. Iowa State, BYU continues to be a really competitive game in quarterfinal action. We'll also get to the random question of the day right here on Cody and Gold.
Cody and Gold, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. Follow the station on Instagram for ticket giveaways and behind-the-scenes content from the show at The Fan 965.
Missouri sports fans, it's time to grab your phone and your dancing shoes and make entries for March college basketball with Underdog. Look, nothing beats March. We know that. Bring the fun to your bracket every game by making entries on Underdog. And you can do it on the Missouri side. Do you want to win up to 1,000 times your money? You can over at Underdog. I keep telling you it's easy. You choose a player, right? Let's say Mark Mitchell tonight for Mizzou. You like him to go higher than 22.5 points, rebounds, and assists. You can do that over at Underdog by making those selections, choosing those entries, choosing higher or lower than points, assists, rebounds, and more, and then taking a chance to see if you can turn that $1 into 1,000 times your money. Millions of fans have already won billions of dollars making plays at Underdog, and their app has over 100,000 5-star reviews with those millions of players. You get a chance to do those. Choose some of those ones tonight. I do really like that Mark Mitchell one, and you can have a chance to do that over at Underdog. So make those selections, download the app today, and sign up now using that promo code TAPP, T-A-P-P, to unlock that special offer for up to $1,000 in bonus credits once you make your first deposit. You can sign up with that promo code using TAPP, T-A-P-P, and claim your special offer today. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concern with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Hey, it's Gold once again telling you about the amazing staff at Max Motors. They're going to take care of you, and it's springtime. Why not spring into a brand new vehicle at Max Motors, like the new 2025 Ram 1500, up to 15% off MSRP plus 1.9% for 72 months. Stock number S250016. Must finance with dealer lender. Offer expires 4/1/25. Max Motors has the best financing options available with the max trade-in values in the Midwest. Max Motors, the easiest place to buy a car. MaxMotors.com.
It's here, Kansas City Northland, your new Academy Sports and Outdoor store. Now open at 9130 Northwest Skyview Avenue. Don't miss our grand opening celebration, Friday, March 14th through Sunday, March 16th. Plus, shop grand opening deals starting Thursday, March 13th at your new Kansas City Northland store and at your Liberty, Overland Park, Olathe, and Belton stores. The first 150 customers in line when the store opens this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 18 and over, get a free mystery gift card with over $15,000 in total weekend prizes.
I'm McCall with Lee Summit Subaru, and it's time to make a big deal out of nothing. Announcing Lee Summit Subaru's 0% event. Zero, like in 0% financing. Zero is back. Up to 0% financing on select 2024 and 2025 Subaru models for 72 months. And we're 2024 Google's highest review rated and only locally owned Subaru retailer in Kansas City. 0% event. The Subaru A Lot to Love event at Lee Summit Subaru.
Google highest review rated Subaru retailer in Kansas City based on Google Analytics.
Hey, it's Dick Ray. Why do they call us the heating, AC, and plumbing magician? We show up on time, diagnose and fix the problem quickly without breaking the bank. And now we have our own madness going on in March with our Dick Ray BOGO deal. Schedule a $99 AC tune-up by March 31st and receive your furnace tune-up next fall for free. Come on, sing it with me.
Call Dick Ray, he's your cooling magician.
Call Aspen Lawn and Pest Control. Our iconic blue trucks and expert team get it right the first time. Award-winning full-service lawn care and pest control since 1985. Call today for a free estimate. Visit aspenlawn.com.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we're improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to RexBuysKC.com. That's RexBuysKC.com, and I look forward to working with you.
Some things just go together, like peanut butter and jelly, or a Casey's spicy chicken sandwich and a 49-cent medium pound drink, or a Casey's breakfast sandwich and a 49-cent pound drink, or even Casey's limited time Italian deli sliders and a 49-cent pound drink. You get the idea. It's not crazy. It's Casey's. See store for details.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, millions of men experience ED, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. At HIMSS, our own board-certified urologist, Dr. Peter Stahl, knows this better than anyone, and he knows that HIMSS can help.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Stahl, Senior Vice President of Men's Sexual Health at HIMSS. I've helped many guys with ED, and it has never been more convenient to treat than it is right now, thanks to HIMSS.
Through HIMSS.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs. Options at up to 95% less than the brand names when you get started at hims.com/joy. To start your free online visit and find ED treatment at up to 95% less than brand name prices, go to hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit.
Saving for retirement was tough enough for us.
Yes, and navigating markets can be challenging at times.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we take a disciplined approach with your investments.
Tell us more about that.
We take an active approach to money management, positioning your portfolio for opportunities we see ahead.
So all your clients get the same portfolio?
No, we tailor your portfolio to your individual goals and needs.
What about communication? We don't like being left in the dark.
We check in regularly to keep you informed on the markets and your portfolio.
Which means you'll help us stay on track.
Yes, our goal is your comfortable retirement. And as a fiduciary, we always put your interests first, because we do better when you do better. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Go to 965thefan.com for the Fiery Hot Sevens contest, where you can win a $30 instant scratch ticket, and one person will win the grand prize, a Bobby Witt Jr. autographed jersey and framing, all thanks to our friends at the Kansas Lottery. The Royals Roundtable with Michael Massey, Kyle Isbell, and Josh Vernier. Friday, March 28th, starting at 6 o'clock at Hollywood Casino. Your home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan, KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station.
1 o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. Thanks to Vern once again for giving us an update on Bobby Witt Jr. All good. All good. Maybe even back at it Sunday, he said. If not Monday. Everybody can take a deep breath.
He can take the time off. I don't need
he can take the rest of spring off. We're good to go. We're good to go, Bobby. I think everybody is just fine with you not seeing action until opening day here 2 weeks from today. Let's get a quick Big 12 tournament update here. Scoreboard updates brought to you by Powell Exteriors KC. For siding, windows, decks, and more, it has to be Powell Exteriors KC and PowellKC.com. Big 12 tournament. What a game we have going on right now. Quarterfinal action at T-Mobile Center. It is BYU and Iowa State tied at 75 all. 9:16 to go in this game. This has been a shootout, The winner of this game will play the winner of Houston and Colorado. So most likely Houston.
No, probably going to be Colorado. I don't know about you guys. The top 4 teams in the country versus one of the 15 worst Power 5 teams this year, Power 4 teams.
So far, the game of the Big 12 tournament happening right now, Iowa State, BYU, one of 4 games taking place today. Also, later on this afternoon, the Colorado-Houston game we were mentioning, and then later on tonight, a couple games in quarterfinal action. The first one is Baylor and Texas Tech, and then late tonight it'll be Kansas taking on Arizona. That's what's going on at the Big 12 tournament. And
hope you guys are enjoying the weather, standing out there.
Man. Yeah, we got a lot of people from out of town. So if you happen to be driving around the city or whatever, listening, we appreciate you. We're excited to have you guys in Kansas City, enjoying KC once again for another Big 12 tournament, at least through 2031. Sorry, Utah. Sorry you didn't like it.
Terrible blizzardous weather we're having outside today, by the way. What is it? 80?
It's supposed to be.
A blizzard of sunshine, as it were. This nonsense. I just think if you haven't come here, I think part of it is I'll excuse it. You make your little derogatory comments about how it should be in Las Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world, instead of Kansas City. But I will only accept those comments if you haven't actually been to this city and then realize what you and I both said. This is the best conference tournament in the country. There's 15 of them in Vegas, and none of those are the best in the country. They'll just be like, just want to be in Vegas to be in Vegas. They're just hoping their company will pay for them to go to the strip club on their dime.
You think that's what it is?
Yes. That's exactly what I think it is. I think he just wants to go out to some fancy dinner at the casino and put something on black. And then he hopes the company will pay for some of the expenses.
He can do all that here.
I know, but he doesn't think so. He think that can only happen in Las Vegas. It's acceptable to sit there, you know? Here, you got to mind your business.
I think this was more Utah. That was a Utah beat writer. That wasn't BYU. I know BYU's still going to be around if they win today, but I think that was Utah.
They must be fuming sitting as soon as they walked into the stadium today or the arena just being outside. They've got to be fuming a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't think the BYU fans weren't really saying that as much as it was the Utah and Arizona fans.
Utah's already gone.
Yeah, they're done.
Arizona could be gone tonight.
They could.
Arizona's just because they want the short drive. I get it. But I already told you, we took you in. You were homeless. You had no house. And now you're complaining because the bed's not you don't have the right thread count or something? What's your problem here? You didn't even have a conference to play in 6 months ago. I guess technically the Pac-12 does still exist.
Yeah, rebranded. They're going to rebrand. They'll be good to go, you know?
Are they? They're not going to be the Pac-12 anymore?
I think they need
rebranded in terms of like all the teams are different. Sorry. Yeah, it's still.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe they were
relaunched. How about relaunched? There we go.
Okay.
How about that?
Redesign.
How about that?
Except several
thinking of redesign needed. Did you guys see the once again yearly screw up by Major League Baseball with the hats? So New Era is I believe still the hat provider for Major League Baseball, and every year they come out with their hats. They do a couple. They'll do a release later on in the year. And a couple years ago, they had the wrong area codes, and they had, remember, like the saxophone with like the pork butt on it or whatever it was, that hat. This year's hat looked like somebody that was working in Photoshop. And if anybody's ever used Photoshop, there's layers. And like they had the layer of the text, which would read Royals. And then they decided, well, we need to put the logo somewhere. And the person was lazy and was like, we'll just leave it on top of that layer. It doesn't show through. It's all good. And they just said, here's your hat. And then for some teams, they decided to do this and didn't realize that once you put a logo for some teams on top of wording for others, it spells some interesting things. So much so that Major League Baseball, or New Era, has had to pull back some of the product. How does this not get quality control checked? The example that with the Angels.
Look.
Can we say some of these on there? I don't know. Let's just say Angels. Think for a second. Angels might if you move around the letters, you take some things away, and you put it.
Maybe you had an A and an L, and then some other letters after it, and
Angels could be confused with something else if it's moved around right. That happened on a hat. The Astros, you can also understand what could be confused.
Like they were missing an H, maybe hypothetically. Or
the Rangers one was the worst.
Well, because it's an actual word in Spanish.
Think about Texas. Okay, everybody mentally, if you haven't seen the photo, Texas spelled on a hat, and then you put the Rangers logo, like the giant Rangers logo, right in the middle.
So you got rid of the X, and instead there was a T.
So it's just TETAS, I think, is all you saw.
And it turns out that word in Spanish it means something.
Yes.
It doesn't mean what they want it to mean.
No, so that hat
and
got
they sold a few of those hats before
they
realized that maybe we shouldn't let Texas Rangers fans have that on a hat. And I'll just let you get to your computer real quick. Just do a quick little Google search for what that spells out, depending on the language in which you're reading it. This is like 5 of the last 7 years that I can't believe the designers at New Era continue to have work.
Someone's trying to sell these hats that they got for $800 right now on eBay. No, I don't think
if it's an official, I don't think they're going to get that. But if it's an official,
there's people selling because there must be 10 plus listings of people that were able to get their hands on these ones, and they're trying to sell them for $900, $1,000.
Someone's going to pay it because they just think
I
it's
should
funny.
go look. Has one sold? Hold on. These are listed. Anybody can list. I can list anything for whatever price. Let me see if. Do you think anybody's sold one?
Yeah,
of
we
these?
do that at the garage sale every single year.
There's no way somebody's been dumb enough to buy one of those.
Oh, dude. People buy like the air that like someone claims somebody breed before. You know what I mean? Like,
dude, all the time.
I understand.
Let's see. Sold. Oh, give me a second, guys. I gotta scroll somewhere and figure out where I'm looking for the settings so I can look at actually sold.
Hats cost too much anyways.
Did they just say, "Hey, Chat GPT, give me some hat designs," and they thought this one looks?
I honestly
the
think
coolest?
someone was in Photoshop and like the layer. They're like, screw it. We'll just layer one on top of the other. This claims there's a one sold for $500 on March 13th.
Wow.
Now I don't know if someone's playing around or whatever. They sold it to their buddy or whatever. But no, $500 someone paid. So we missed out. We should have been buying up all these hats. Could have raised money for the show fund.
In fairness,
the
as
Royals
someone who does
one
not
is
speak fluent Spanish. I didn't realize that's the way you say that in Spanish.
the Royals.
So I didn't know I was supposed to buy up all the Texas hats.
The Royals one doesn't look good, but it doesn't have like some major grammatical or type of error like some of these other ones.
No, it was just like because again, I don't think it's as bad as the one where they put all the area codes on it and they just stuck that random like pig and saxophone on it.
Yeah.
And most of the area codes, the 816 wasn't even on there, but some like Nebraska area code was. Like they obviously have zero quality control. Between this and the jerseys, Gold, that like
we're back
Major
to big
League
letters.
Baseball,
We're back to big letters.
Thank
this year.
God. What took so long? Everybody knows it looks better. The paper thin, like one ply jerseys they tried to make the players wear last year with the tiny letters.
Fixed.
It's Major League Baseball. You should get to put on a jersey and feel like I'm wearing a jersey of a Major League Baseball player. These are fan hats, and I still can't understand how they managed to miss this in quality control. Look at the Royals one. It's hideous. I am curious. 913-586-7965. Is there a single one of you that likes that hat? There must be someone out there, right? Does anyone like that Royals hat? Look it up. It just says Royals in the cursive letters and then the big KC right over the top of it. Does anyone like it? Rockles.
Someone might buy
That's what it
one.
looks like, you
Someone
know?
might buy one now just for the novelty of it. You know how that stuff goes too. Like now they just because people have talked about it.
I'd love one of those old ones with like the zip codes that are all messed up for the garage sale.
Yeah. If you're watching on the stream, you can kind of see on my computer. It's just, someone will buy one because it's just different, and now people have talked about it. Yeah, the zip code ones just never shipped. Like, it never got to a point where they shipped any of those out. Somehow these other ones have shipped. That's why people are selling the Texas Rangers one.
I'm going to be that guy. No hat. Until hats get below $35 again, I'm not buying a hat.
You're out.
This hat on lids right now, $33.
Drew has worn this hat 3 or 4 times this week, so there might be some truth to it.
What's the logo on there?
I have 4
golf
hats.
course.
I have 4 hats in my arsenal.
That's it? Arsenal.
Yes.
Hat arsenal. Do
I
you
got
need
more
new
hats
ones?
than that.
We got our friends at Sazerac gave us the
some Fireball hats.
Did you get the Fireball one last week?
I did.
Yeah, that's
I did.
your hat arsenal.
That is going to be in the
I don't wear
arsenal.
nearly as many hats as I used to. I've got a lot of hats I just need to like put in the garage sale or donate.
I've got this hat. I got another one that's similar to it, another trucker hat. I've got a Nike hat that I've had for a very long time, and then I have a bucket hat. That's all I have.
That's it? That is surprising. That does make sense that anytime I see you in a hat, it's one of the two hats I recognize. That makes sense.
I can't tell you. Almost every single time I've gone to the K, I go to the shop because I'm like, let me just go see what's in there. And I look at the hats. I'm like, I could use a hat. I like a good snapback. $40. No, sorry.
Cost of doing business, man. I don't know what to tell you. In this economy, $40 is about right for a hat.
No
You're probably paying that for eggs.
No.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
You guys want to get to the random question?
Yes.
Random question.
I buy my eggs at Costco. Price still pretty good there. For you, Gold. For you, Drew, over on the text line, 913-586-7965. Of course, the random question of the day is brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Results every week, and then receive free support for life online at awaken180weightloss.com. The question I actually have today is related to the weather. Earlier on Twitch, somebody had brought up a problem, and they were trying to decide, because they live in, a regular neighborhood, and they were trying to figure out if they can be bullied into this.
All right.
When do you, in this time of year, start the yard work? When does the trimming start? The mowing. I have not even so much as gotten the mower out from underneath its general storage area yet. Am I supposed to have been starting yard work? I got to start the weeding process. Am I supposed to start now? When are we starting yard work in a traditional setting?
So
I think I'm allowed to wait till April.
So I don't own a home, so I'm not the right person to ask.
But you'll help your parents with some of it.
Yeah, and I would say the only thing you probably should be doing now this week would be if you have any leaves that are still a new batch of leaves somehow are still around. I would say
you
that
I got to mulch up the leaves.
I would say you do that. I don't think you should not be fired up the lawnmower this week. Today, 80 degrees. If I hear a lawnmower...
But do I need to, pick up the sticks that fell throughout the winter that I've just been ignoring? I'm not picking those up throughout the winter. It's cold outside.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you're good. I think you're good. Today is if you still got some leaves that are messed up or whatever. Yeah. I mean,
somebody says May when it stops snowing. This is
yeah, there's still a chance we could get another freeze.
I get those tall pieces of grass that haven't met. The rest of it hasn't started growing. Then I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I'll just take the weed whacker to it. I don't even want to I don't want to get the whole mower out for this one patch that's getting out of control versus the rest of it.
I do not own a lawnmower.
Scoob over on Twitch says you got to get the brush and leaves. You got to start there. So they're saying
now.
I think the leaves. You're saying I got to start yard work now.
I think you got to get the leaves under control. well, you got to get the leaves. I think I
stopped blowing them into the street, and that'll win for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
The yard work I think starts obviously with smaller things. Until we get by this little. Next week at the end, it's 52, 55, 55. Wait until after that little stretch comes, and once it gets up to the 60s again, then maybe you can stretch the lawnmower's legs a little bit. But up until then, just do some patch
From
work.
the 816, I said, this is the week when you rake this sounds like a professional person who takes care of their grass. This is the week when you rake the leaves and the dead grass and the sticks up so your grass can get good growth with all that sunlight. Here's the truth, though. I don't care. I don't care to have a nice yard.
I think you would like to, though, right?
I don't care enough to do it. How about that? I guess if my grass looked like a golf fairway, that'd be fine. But, I'm not going to do it. I've never needed an endorsement more than somebody in this station who will take care of my
Drew loves
grass.
to mow the yard. He's actually upset he doesn't get it. Remember, he does it barefoot.
He hasn't seen the hill.
Barefoot. We've gone through this before.
My yard's pretty steep, Gold. It's not fun to mow.
Yeah.
Again, I don't mow barefoot every single time. I've done it a few times.
Don't ever do it again.
Mow the grass barefoot.
Yeah, don't do that again, man. That's just asking for problems.
He's learned a lesson. Everybody scared him away from it. He was scared straight.
I think so. But he's offered to come over to your house if you'll pay him to mow the yard.
He didn't even offer to be paid. He said he would do it for free one time.
There you go.
I mean, I got to at least give him gas money. You can't just be.
I will say, having been to your house now and seeing that hill,
pretty steep, dude.
I don't know if free's. I don't know if free. I think free's tough.
Yeah, pretty steep. Doesn't make for a fun. Doesn't make for a fun trip.
Are you one of the people, Cody, that you just want the grass mowed, or you want it mowed like you go diagonal sometimes? You go horizontally.
Mowed. I just want the grass shorter than it was before. I'm not, I throw on headphones and I just go in our yard because I'm not going up and down that huge hill. I just go side to side.
You're not designing a Major League Baseball outfield.
No, I'm not. I'll tell you this much. I'm not the guy this spring will be like, I'm laying down a good base seed. No, that's not me. I just want it mowed. If it looked nicer, that'd be fine. But I will not, and I will never be the person who puts in the amount of work to make it look like some country club grass. It's just not going to happen. I'm not committed to it. I'd rather do other things with my time or energy. I take no pleasure in yard work.
Look,
Zero.
if it was possible to do, I think I would like to do that. But also, if you're already at the point where you're like, I've lived here for a couple of years, it doesn't matter. Or if your wife doesn't really care that much, and it sounds like maybe she doesn't, like she doesn't expect you to have the yard looking great, then yeah, I guess I could see how you would be like, don't need to worry about it.
I don't like regular yard work other than I guess mowing the grass is yard work. That's the only yard work that I care for. Like I'm not gonna. Weed whacking is fine, but anything else, like raking leaves, I hate it.
The sticks are what's going to really get me. I got one tree that just sheds a lot of tiny little sticks, which means I got to
that's a hassle.
I just want one. I thought you said something else there for a second. I had to.
Hassle.
You said I heard. I heard. No, I heard it. I heard it the second time. It just took my brain a second. I was like, wait. I just had to personally process it. I was just behind. I just want some industrious kid. If you are an industrious kid and see a bunch of sticks in my yard, I will pay you money. I will give you my cash in order to do this. That's how much I hate doing it. It's mostly just about doing it. Somebody says, does the Supermoon hold up while mowing? Not great. It does not. Uneven walking, can be bad for the foot, is what they've told me. Uneven ground. And if you think the amount of work you've clearly seen I put into my yard, it's not, I haven't taken sand to it to make sure it's perfectly flat or all the other stuff. Do you mow your parents' grass?
No.
Who mows it? Like a service?
They hire somebody now. Back when I was in junior high and stuff,
when you were living with them for a little bit when you first moved to town, were you mowing it?
Mm-mm.
Man, they were taking care of it then too.
Well, they already had somebody at that point in time. It's some company they use now. But way back when I was little, I guess I did.
It's a good excuse to get some vitamin D,
Right, Drew. Yeah.
I had to be careful saying that.
I'm just going to pay somebody eventually. I'm just going to cave. One day I'm just going to find. It's more expensive than I was anticipating.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know what I was expecting, but I mean,
what did you think it was going to cost?
Well,
it could be, depending on your yard, it could be $60, it could be $40. It just depends.
I don't know what I was expecting, but the last guy to come look at, he's like, this hill, huh? Like, just like, the professional mower was like, I don't know about
He's
this.
upcharging you.
Well, that's because a lot of times they don't use the pushing mowers. They use the riding mowers. And
they can tip at a certain incline.
Yeah, that hill, I don't know.
Oh, man. Tough living, man. I'm not getting a riding mower. My yard's not big enough for that.
Yeah, that would probably be a waste for you.
The backyard's pretty small. Well, it's got decks.
Well, I was going to say that might also be. I have to maneuver around all these decks. I don't know, man.
The backyard takes 10 minutes to mow, maybe tops. I mean, it's just not. Again, it's 4 decks instead of any yard. It's just layered decks. There's not like a ton of grass in the backyard.
Someone's offering to trim up your trees, Cody. They've been doing it for 60 years.
Great. I pay somebody to do that now. So, what kind of? Can you beat my guy Kevin? Kevin does a pretty good job.
As long as you're not the guy.
We're pretty much trimming like 2 trees a year in perpetuity. Or yeah, like 6 or 8 trees. We're just trimming like 2 every year in perpetuity. So I'm just like in a rotation now.
As long as
you're
not
out Kevin.
As long as you're not the guy that said, you climb trees at the bar and wanted to fight me 3 years ago, or whatever, 2 years ago, whenever that was.
You're going to do Kevin like that, Cody? Because I'm going to say
you're saying I should be loyal to Kevin.
Well, there's going to come a point where if you do switch people, you got to be hey Kevin. Sorry, man. I found another tree trim guy.
Kevin doesn't reach out to me. I reach out to him when I'm ready.
How long has he been trimming your trees for?
A couple of years. He took down the first tree.
Okay.
He drug out the first tree that broke down in my backyard.
This is quite the theory.
And he's been doing it ever since. So maybe like 4 years. I take it back.
This is quite the theory. Someone says, Cody, your neighbors deep down probably don't like you if you don't keep your yard up.
Okay, well.
Are your neighbors' yards really nice? Or
I only have one neighbor, right?
Oh, you don't have one on that side. Yeah.
I only have one neighbor.
So to the right, is that? What about that neighbor?
That neighbor does a pretty good job. He's a pretty meticulous person, just in general.
Do you think he hates
He's
that
always
your
like
yard
working
is?
in his garage?
Do you think he hates that your average yard is blending into his yard?
His yard's not perfect or anything, but it's better than mine. I think he's probably okay. He doesn't have one of those like perfectly manicured yards.
Would it drive you
but
crazy
it's better than mine.
if your yard was perfect? Like you worked your ass off for it was perfect, and your neighbor's yard was. I was about to curse, and it was that.
No, that's
and
I got the double
it's not my house.
We were close, Drew. We were about a half second from going full force there, and then like the crappiness of that yard blends into yours.
Oh, see, okay. If it blends into yours, where it's like the grass is long enough where it's starting to get into your quote unquote property, that might be a trigger point for them.
Someone says these robot lawnmower. Do those things work? I've seen those. Do they work? Be honest. It sounds great in theory. Just have the robot mow the yard. But does it actually get the job done?
I don't know. I mean, do a good enough job. I mean, if it cuts the grass down, I'm good. I don't need like a pattern. It doesn't need to look like the Royals outfield on opening day with like a big KC and a crown over it.
Some things you just can't rely on, robots.
Someone says, tell your son there's nothing more romantic than doing yard work
Trying to convince him that this is how.
Other.
My gosh.
He again came home yesterday, and the kid who was ratting on him the day before, he said he's not onto us either. I'm like, stop trying to like get around.
He's investigating,
sneaking around. He's like, what makes me question is if he's saying that they're not onto us anymore. It's like, so you're acting or saying these things, but now you're doing it in like clandestine, right? Like you're doing it, you're having these conversations where, how quietly are you trying to keep this under wraps?
I mean, it can't be too obvious, otherwise they know that these
two kids might need to not be in first grade together, is what I'm learning.
Oh.
They might.
You're going to break them up.
I'm not going to. Well, they don't let me choose that. They should not let parents choose the teachers or the.
You can put in request or
classmates.
whatever, I think, right?
You can. You don't put in requests for teachers. You can say what your kid needs, and they can try to go with that. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't know if you know this. Your sister's a teacher now.
Yep.
So she can give you the behind the scenes. She's an elementary school teacher, right?
Yeah, well, I know some of the behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's essentially a. You know how like everyone gets excited for the NFL draft? That's how picking kids works in class. It's an NFL draft of kids. They sit in these rooms.
Sounds exciting.
And they try to like spread out the kids that are more trouble or less trouble. They try to spread out the ones that they know talk too much or don't talk too much. It's a kid draft. Like that's just what it is.
You're starting to get down to it at the end, and you're like,
it's
oh
straight
man,
up,
it's my pick.
Elementary school is straight up a kid draft. That was like my first overall pick. I'll take the honor roll student who said, the quietest kid in class, whatever it is. That's borderline how they treat it. I don't think it goes quite that strict, but a little bit of that going on.
If they streamed it, hang on.
Streamed it?
If they streamed
They're
it
kids!
one time, would you watch?
What are you asking me? I don't have kids.
Like,
This
would
is
I
Cody.
watch
This
it?
question
Would
to
I
Cody.
watch it?
I'm
No.
just saying.
I feel too bad.
In
I feel
general,
too bad
if
for
there
the
was a
kids.
TV show where you knew
I would not
went
watch
around
it.
and you could watch a draft, like there was an episode of a show where you could watch a
Oh,
draft.
not if it wasn't my kids, I wouldn't care. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm just saying for like the entertainment value of crap, man. I have John and Marlene in front of me, and I have to wait for this kid.
By the way,
crap.
By the way, if there is in 2025 a sixth grader named Marlene.
No, teacher. No.
Oh, teacher.
Oh, I thought you were saying I want Marlene. I'm like, what 6-year-old is named Marlene in 2025?
It's the first thing I was.
1937.
Even teacher. How many Marlene teachers are there left at this point?
I don't know, but
Shout out to the Marlenes out there.
They're getting down to the end of it, and there's some kids that you're like, I really don't want them in the class, but I've got 4 people in front of me who are going to draft the other kid, so I'm going to be stuck with this kid. Dang it!
All right, let's get to what's trending, and then we'll talk more about the Missouri Tigers, who have a big game in the SEC tonight.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
If you've been thinking about a brand new vehicle, well, Max Motors is the spot you should be checking out. Hey, it's Alex Gold for Max Motors, telling you once again why Max Motors is the place to go this spring if you're thinking about getting that new vehicle. Like a new 2025 Ram 1500. Right now, it's up to 15% off MSRP, plus 1.9% for 72 months. Stock number S250016. Or maybe you're looking for a little bit different vehicle for the family. A new 2024 Chrysler Pacifica Touring L, starting at $37,000. Stock number S240379. The weather's starting to get nicer. You're going to be out and about more. Maybe you're thinking about those road trips for the summertime already. Why not get a new vehicle, and why not go to the best in the Midwest at Max Motors, where they're going to walk you through the entire buying process. They're going to explain to you the total cost of ownership, not just what your monthly payment will be. And they've got the best financing options available with the max trade-in values in the Midwest. See dealer for details. Max Motors, the easiest place to buy a car, maxmotors.com.
It's March matchup season at BetMGM. Ready to shoot your shot? Lock in your picks for this year's tournament with the sportsbook Born in Vegas. Being on the sidelines is one thing. This March, get into the game with exciting state-of-the-art live tracking technology, exclusive sportsbook selections, and so much more. Check out BetMGM Originals for dozens of markets you won't find anywhere else. Take a shot at our exciting free-to-play games for your chance at scoring odds boost tokens, bonus bets, and many other prizes. Plus, new players can score up to $1,500 in bonus bets if their first bet loses. From the big dogs to the underdogs, March matchups at BetMGM is a player's best friend. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Kansas only. First bet offers for new customers only. All other promotions for existing customers. Subject to eligibility requirements and rewards may vary. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
I love saving money, and Hy-Vee is always helping my family fight inflation. Not only has Hy-Vee lowered prices all over the store, they also help me save a ton of money on gas. In fact, multiple times in the last few months, I've saved over $1 per gallon with Hy-Vee fuel savers. I love seeing the price on the pump drop dramatically each time I fill up. This Saturday and Sunday, save 30 cents per gallon on gas with every $60 you spend on groceries. Stack up the savings. The more you spend, the more you'll save on your next fill-up, only at Hy-Vee.
Hy-Vee's new fresh fried donuts are pure melt-in-your-mouth happiness with icing on top. Fresh out of the fryer every morning, you'll fall in love at first bite. Mix and match your favorite glazed donuts, donut holes, fritters, twists, cream-filled Long John, sprinkles, and gourmet delights. Pick up a dozen today. You'll be the hero of the morning meeting, queen of the book club, classroom parent of the year. Sweeten someone's day with decadent fresh fried donuts only from Hy-Vee.
Here's a question. Would you take your storm-damaged car to a body shop that only did bumpers? Of course not. So why call just a roofing company after your entire home or business goes through a storm? Get more than a roofer. Get an experienced restoration team. Get PAC Construction Services. We're seasoned construction professionals and, are you ready? Former insurance adjusters. Our 100 years of diverse and specialized experience means faster repairs, fewer hassles, and fewer delays. Our emergency response team is on call 24/7 for storm damage, fire, water, and even mold restoration. Veteran-owned, Kansas City trusted. No one will care more for your home or business inside and out than we will. We're ready when you need us. Visit PacKC.com and schedule a free inspection. With KC's recent storm history, there's a good chance you could already have covered damage. Find out today at PacKC.com. That's PACTKC.com.
Spring forward with real unlimited data from Straight Talk this tax season and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. So you can stream games during Mad March hours, check the weather for April showers, and watch gardening videos about May flowers. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 4/15/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires purchase of single line gold unlimited plan or higher. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
A great lawn is like a great sports team. It takes expertise and a little extra care to really stand out. That's where True Green comes in. They're the official lawn care treatment provider of the PGA Tour, so they know a thing or two about keeping grass looking like a fairway. Here's the best part. It's more affordable than you think, and they'll even match any competitor's price. Plus, True Green backs it all up with a satisfaction guarantee. Not happy? They'll come back between visits to make it right. Don't wait. Head to truegreen.com today. Let the pros do the work while you sit back and enjoy the results.
Listen up, fellow Gen Xers. Elizabeth Banks here. The recommended age for pneumococcal pneumonia vaccination has been lowered to 50 and older, even if you're healthy. It's up to us to lead the way. We've done this before. Music videos, fanny packs, even the World Wide Web. Let's do it again and get vaccinated, because we're at over 6 times greater risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Gen X, this is our shot. Visit vaxassist.com and schedule a vaccine today. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is the story of the one. As a quality technician in a food processing center, she knows that making the right call is the best way to avoid a recall. That's why she trusts Grainger's world-class supply chain to deliver the high-quality supplies she needs to help keep her production line, her equipment, and her customers happy and healthy. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash, and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
That's awful, hon.
My brother got life insurance from Ethos, and it only took 10 minutes. And he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online, no medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit ethos.com/sports. Ethos.com/sports.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
This report is brought to you by CareNow Urgent Care. Find one near you at carenow.com.
CareNow Urgent Care has 15 Kansas City area locations open 7 days a week. From injuries and illnesses to school and sports physicals, CareNow Urgent Care is here to help you feel better fast. Find a location near you at carenow.com and use our convenient web check-in today.
Opening day coverage is brought to you by Hollywood Casino. Stop by Hollywood Casino every Wednesday in March from 12 until 2 to register for your chance to win opening day tickets. Your home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan. You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. What's trending?
What's trending is presented by Baker University, where graduates earn Higher salaries and land jobs faster than any other university in Kansas. Apply today at bakeru.edu. The good news today, Bobby Witt Jr.'s x-rays were negative. Vern telling us that maybe Sunday or Monday he could already be back in the lineup. They avoid the worst-case scenario that there would have been a bone fracture or something that would have actually kept him out for months or something like that, or weeks. So we all took a deep breath once we started to hear more and more good news on Bobby Witt Jr.'s health moving forward.
Next up on What Trending, Cooper Flagg did leave the ACC tournament earlier in the day. He left with an ankle injury. He was seen leaving in a wheelchair, got an x-ray, did walk back over to the bench, had both his shoes on. He'd been ruled out for the rest of the game. I'd be surprised, and I don't even know if they ended up finishing. I don't know if they ended up winning that game or not. But I'd be surprised if you see or hear from him at all. They did win 78-70. Maybe the rest of the ACC tournament, we'll keep an eye out. They're expected to be one of the top seeds, obviously, in the NCAA tournament, maybe one or two. So you got to keep an eye out on Cooper Flagg's injury. He left the game with an ankle injury, but did come back out and sit at half court.
Update Big 12 tournament. Game of the tournament. It's been an awesome one. Just glancing over at the latest score, 92-88. BYU leads Iowa State inside of a minute to go, or just outside of a minute to go. I'm sorry. It looks like the scoreboard just closed down on me, Cody, right as they were cutting away on the TV. But inside of a minute, I believe, and BYU has a lead. Chance to pull off an upset in this game against the Cyclones. Obviously, a pro Cyclones crowd out at the Big 12 tournament. Second game, Colorado and Houston going to tip off around 2 o'clock.
Next up on What's Trending, let's get you caught up on the things happening around the NFL. Mason Rudolph agrees to a 2-year contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers, so I guess that's their safety net. In case Aaron Rodgers doesn't come there, Kyle Juszczyk is expected to meet with the Steelers today as well. The Raiders have signed running back Raheem Mostert, and the Commanders re-signed wide receiver KJ Osborne as well.
Last one, Major League Baseball's Tampa Bay Rays have abandoned plans for a $1.3 billion stadium while dealing with their storm-damaged park. Remember, they had the hurricane that ripped the roof right off of Tropicana. They're playing this year in the minor league, or not minor league, but spring training ballparks, I should say. And now the owner, Stu Sternberg, blamed events that, quote, no one could have anticipated for this. And that plan cannot move forward with the new ballpark and development project at this moment, citing a series of events beginning in October. He went on to say that the Rays claimed they could not afford delays to the new stadium project, which led to political infighting. The team faced a March 31st deadline to prove that they could come up with the $700 million obligation toward the cost. There was also a report earlier this week suggesting that there are owners in Major League Baseball that are pressuring the owner of the Rays to sell the team because, one, they may move somewhere else, they can get a new stadium, they get revenue share off of the sale of the team. So it's going to get a little ugly maybe down in Tampa.
It's always just a reminder, the Royals and Chiefs are certainly not the only people having a difficult time trying to figure out their own stadium-related things. But yeah, it continues to be kind of an interesting sight to see what happens in these other cities. That roof getting torn up ended up being a huge difference because it's like, hey, are you going to fix this while you wait on this other stadium? And they're like, we don't really want to fix it while we wait on the rest of the stadium. And so a city council that was already maybe changing its mind on funding it definitely changed its mind on funding it. The Tampa Bay Rays will not be in Tampa Bay in the next 5 years. They'll find a new home.
Sure seems like, I know we've said this before, in years past, like, oh, they're going to move. This is a big deal when you have a ballpark proposal and it flat out now has been halted and there's not any discussion about it picking back up. I think it's not a coincidence that report a couple days ago came out saying that there are owners in baseball pressuring him to sell his team. So one to watch. If you're Nashville, you might be keeping an eye on it. If you're Portland, if you're Montreal, those are the three most likely cities that everybody speculated about for years and years. Nashville, the biggest, I would say.
Like proximity, right? Least amount of travel to get.
I mean, look, I don't want any fan base to lose their team because it's an awful thing. But if you told me the team ended up in Nashville, that'd be fun.
From a baseball road trip perspective, it'd be fun. Although they're building a new Titan Stadium, do they have the thirst to also build a baseball stadium? The city itself?
But they have an ownership group. I don't know how much they've committed, but they actually do have a group ready to roll.
They do.
So we'll see. That's what's trending on Cody and Gold. 17 seconds. It looks like they're going to lose. Yeah. 17.1 seconds to go. BYU up 93-88. This is the 4-5 matchup. The winner will likely take on Houston in the semifinals tomorrow night. BYU's good, man. BYU's good. They are also shooting the ball better than they have at any point. But they're I don't know where Lenardi has their seed projection, but we had talked off air before. I think BYU, depending on the draw, like they will be. I don't know what the odds will make it worth the bet, but I think they can make the Sweet 16. And that was before a win against Iowa State.
Before we get to a preview of Missouri's game tonight, since we'll finally get to see them in SEC tournament play, the text line did ask us, if there was a kid draft, where would we go? Elementary school? Is that where we're limiting it to? Were you a good kid in elementary school?
Sure, I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
Were you a good student? Do all your work?
Yeah, I mean, I had to be, like, I didn't like
Were
doing...
you talkative?
Very talkative.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was quiet at that age.
Yeah, no, at that age, so I got in trouble for talking a lot in first and second grade.
Okay.
I wouldn't shut up, Cody,
I was quiet.
And here we are,
where
we talk for a living, so it's fitting,
I wouldn't be as an adult, but I'd have been a first-round pick at that age. Good student, paid attention, teachers loved me. I was quiet, well-behaved, never got in any kind of trouble. I would say as the years gone on in school, my round would change. I'd have some character concerns as things went on.
Should be a first overall pick, though, is what you're saying.
That's what he's saying.
I'm saying I'd be a top pick, man.
That's what
I'm
he's
just saying I
saying.
would have been a top pick at that age.
Someone says, someone says that ultimately the Tampa Bay Rays thing we were discussing, that they should just go switch Nashville Rays, revamp the logo, do the Sunshine Rays instead. Have they already said, is there like the possible name in Nashville? Wasn't there some group that already has? I thought it was Stars already exist, right?
That's the
minor league. Oh, is that the thought they would revamp that?
Yeah, that was one of the rumors. Because they've got the Sound now, right? That's their minor league team.
Music City Baseball is the name of the ownership group. The Nashville Stars Baseball Club aims to become MLB's first franchise to adopt a name from the Negro Leagues. Oh, that
20 hours ago, yeah.
That's what that is the whole idea, is that they will adopt the name from the Negro Leagues if in fact
I would
Nashville.
love it. I told you I thought Cleveland should have been the Spiders. Loved the logo work, loved all the Negro League Baseball Museum logo work, all the stuff that came with being a part of those
Bob
early
Kendrick's
teams.
I don't know if he's part of the ownership group. He's like an advisor or something for the Nashville group,
Stars,
right?
Well, you probably technically I think the Negro League Baseball Museum owns a lot of the
Here's
properties
who's on the
and
board.
trademark and copyright stuff of that. So
There's
yeah.
a bunch of board members, but Eddie George is on it. Bob Kendrick on the board of directors. So that will be the city and then the ownership group to watch if, in fact, the Rays sell the team. There's no doubt. They have a huge team already in place and ready to rock and roll. If, in fact, there's an opportunity to get a team there in Nashville. Missouri Tigers, though. Let's get back to that. I know we've been teasing it and we've been sidetracked. So Missouri taking on Mississippi State tonight. For them, the way they've played, the way their defense has been performing, this is a game in which you set up an opportunity if you win to play Florida again, because you can change everybody's perception again on you if you were to get that opportunity. But your defense, you got to build some confidence that you can actually get some stops. Mississippi State is a team that you blew out earlier on in the season, and right now you're in a stretch of games where you've been struggling in the win-loss column, but also defensively. We looked it up. 5 of the last 7 games, Missouri has given up 76 or more to their opponents. And they also have a couple games in there where they've been giving up 90-plus during that 7-game stretch. So this is an opportunity to get some of the vibes back. I mean, just a month ago, the Missouri Tigers were being discussed as a dangerous team in the tournament. And
yeah, they were.
3 seed, and now some projections have them as a 6 or a 7. So you got to get some momentum, you would think, if you're Dennis Gates, and you would like to see that tonight to improve your seeding. Because otherwise, if they were to lose to Mississippi State, I actually think they would be a 7 seed in the NCAA tournament.
So right now, I pulled up the bracket matrix that Harold Kuntz, our friend over at Fox 4, had sent me, which aggregates all of them, right? So it should be pretty accurate, aggregates every single one of them. As of this morning, it had both Missouri and Kansas as a between 6 and 7 seed, right? Like an average of 6.8, they round up, so they got them both as a 7 seed, hypothetically, in that scenario. So, yeah, I think they do have to get past Mississippi State. But, on paper, Mississippi State is no real better or worse than them. Like, I know Missouri's a 3.5 point favorite tonight against Mississippi State. They beat them pretty bad, like about a month ago or a month and a half ago. They beat them pretty squarely. But also, like, they both have Mississippi State's got 8 wins. They're 8-10 in the SEC. Missouri's 10-8. They finished a spot different in the conference with each other. Like, they've had a similar amount of success. They both have serious flaws and guards who can score. Like, there's not a tremendous difference, I guess, between these two teams. I really do think, like, he's had a ton of momentum, obviously from last year, Gates, off of a team that did not win a single game in the SEC last year, which is crazy to have this kind of turnaround. But I do think that, like, it's not just the portal. The portal can, like, you can change your fate for a single year. But if you're trying to build a program, you got to get wins like this. You got to, like, get some wins in the NCAA tournament. You got to convince people that it's not just recruiting and we were a pretty good SEC team. Like, I think, like, beating up on Mississippi State proves when you guys go recruit against each other for some college kid this summer that, like, no. We're more on the path of where we need to be than they are. I know I don't want to try to make too big about one SEC game, but seeding matters, recruiting matters. It just feels like this is the kind of game, considering the year Missouri's had, I kind of expect them to get past.
Yeah, someone on text said, "Hey, do conference tournaments matter for seeding?" The committee, it's weird. There's a mixed thinking on it because the committee will say they value it, and then ultimately they don't ever value it as much. But I think if you are already on a fringe, right?
Fringe of a 6-7.
Depends on the committee. If they have Missouri, let's just say for hypothetical, let's say they have them as the last 6 seed. Well, then, yeah, losing in your first game of the SEC tournament could swing it. Does it sway as much as some people will make it out to be? Probably not. But if you're a fringe, it does. And a lot of it is just you want to start feeling a little bit better about yourself heading in the tournament too.
Yeah.
We all know they lost to Kentucky, they lost to Oklahoma, they lost to Vandy. Those are that's 3 straight losses. You don't want to lose 4 in a row heading into the tournament.
No.
Your last win would be against South Carolina, the worst team in the conference. So you just need this one to get back on the right track, feel good, and then you see what happens against Florida. A great opportunity. Florida, who a lot of people think might be the best team in the country. You already beat them in Gainesville earlier. You were playing a lot better basketball. They're also playing better basketball now.
Well, what a resume win.
But you would have a no-lose opportunity. If you win tonight and you get Florida, nobody's going to punish you for losing to Florida tomorrow. You know what I mean?
No.
It's just only a golden opportunity exists at that point.
Well,
if
that's
you're
what's
the
so
Tigers.
frustrating. If, like, it's not the same as, like, earlier, Drew. You remember I compared Kansas State's basketball season to KU's football season. It worked out the exact same way. Both started terribly, both played good for a little stretch, ended terribly, amounted to nothing, don't go to any postseason tournament. Missouri hasn't been that. Missouri has beaten 2 of the top 8 seeds in the NCAA tournament between Florida and Alabama. They've beaten 2 almost 1 seeds, or a 1 and a 2 seed this year. In the last 6 weeks, they've beaten a 1 and a 2 seed. And yet in the last month, I'm like, are you guys good? Or can you play defense? Because there's one question I don't have about Missouri. They can score. Missouri can play offense. They have excellent guard play. Excellent guard play typically goes a long way in an old NCAA tournament. But if you're not going to stop anybody,
I think since mid-February, we pulled up the stat earlier, mid-February, which is when this all kind of shifted for them. Since mid-February, they're 16th in the conference, and I think it was just defensive efficiency, just a standard defensive efficiency metric. And they're obviously better than that, but that's what they've been the last month. So you can change a lot of just the vibes, I guess, more than anything, heading into the tournament. Ultimately, we know both KU and Missouri will be playing in the NCAA tournament. Selection Sunday is going to be interesting to watch. Heck, they could end up in the same region. That'd be a little fun, too. I know they played earlier this year.
They're not like enough seeds. I wish they were like,
yeah,
I wish they were on like
true,
a 6-3 line, or like I wish they were on like a line where.
I mean, I guess one could be a 7 and 6 in the same region.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping they line up so that if they both go through some wins, maybe they'll face.
I mean,
each
one's
other.
not going to be a 10 and one a 7, so we're not getting a 7-10 matchup or something crazy like that.
Either of them, like Kansas would have to lose last night. Even they wouldn't have moved to a 10; they'd move to an 8.
Right. Yeah, KU's going to be a 7, I think, unless they go on a run the next 2 nights. And Missouri, I think, is probably going to be a 6 still. I mean, I think that's where we're at this point, with room for both. If they rattle off 2 more wins here in the next few days, both can maybe bump up 1 seed line. I don't think anybody's doing any worse than a 7 in KU's case, and Missouri any worse than a 7 as well if they were to lose tonight.
7 and 6, they can meet up in the Sweet 16. Of course, the 2 and 3 seed have to get knocked off. In
right?
Case,
yeah, both would have to get wins. Yeah. That would be unbelievable.
Asking a lot. Well, that's what's so funny about both of these teams is that at their absolute peak powers, they have both beaten one of the best teams in the country. Now, Kansas was way earlier in the season when they were beating a team like Duke, but also like. They were neck and neck with Houston, another top 8 team in the country, less than a week ago. So, like, both of them, because of the amount of talent on their roster, technically, even though I don't think Kansas goes all that deep, it's just like the pedigree version of it. They just still got guys who can score sometimes. It's not crazy. It's just like, would both happen? Put them in the same region just so I can dream. Just so I can dream about a KU-MU Sweet 16 game to talk about on this show.
I mean, I'll sign up for that, too. I mean, that'd be amazing. That would be amazing.
Then you get to go back and watch when Missouri beat them earlier in the year and talk about all that other stuff and talk about their tournament histories. And one of those teams to be on the precipice of a Final Four all of a sudden. It wouldn't even make any sense. Just seems like it'd be fun. That's all. I don't think we're going to get that. They'll end up in different regions. The only way they could face each other is if they get to the Final Four. Well, it'd be no fun.
No.
I wouldn't like it. I wouldn't like it at all, Gold. Not even a little bit. The final 180 seconds of the show, the Cody and Gold 180, are brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Results every week, and then receive free support for life online at awaken180weightloss.com. All right, I got to figure out something to do outside for the rest of the day. I'll go work on our show for tomorrow later. Maybe I'll sit on the screen porch for that. I don't want to do yard work.
Yeah, that's right there for you.
Anything else outside but that. I want to do something fun outside.
I might go to a patio somewhere, watch one of these late afternoon games. I don't know if I'm going to make my way
patio
down there.
Beer?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to make my way to P&L. Drew, I know you might be going back out there again tonight. I'm not so sure, I'll be honest. Ticket prices aren't bad, but I don't know if K was playing at 6, I'd be way more likely to go.
As in you could get home by 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, because the KU game may not start. It's scheduled for 8:30, but it could be 8:40 or 8:45. It's like, do I want to be out there that late? I don't know. I know, and if it was a Friday night, I wouldn't care. It's just I don't know if I.
Yeah, that game didn't get done until 11.
Yeah, you said you didn't get home till midnight last night.
Yeah, but that was an overtime game. Kansas should have closed that thing out not in overtime.
Yeah, the game normally would have ended like at 10:20 or 10:30.
And it wouldn't have been too bad. And it's not like you and I, we don't get up at like 4 in the morning.
No, tickets aren't bad. It's a little bit of a drive to get back home, but like it is $60 for, what do we look up? 60 something for downstairs tickets.
I think that's what you said, yeah.
Or get in. I'm sorry, maybe get in price. What was the updated?
You said it was like 28 get in price or 30
38 just to get in the building tonight. And if you want to go downstairs, 57 looks like the cheapest on at least one of the sites with fees.
It's not bad.
But tomorrow, I'll tell you this, tomorrow, the semifinal or whatever.
Price just went down now that Iowa State got knocked out.
Yeah, now if Kansas is in it, if it's then it probably bounce. But if KU gets knocked out tonight and tomorrow it's Arizona, BYU, Houston, and Texas Tech, which are probably likely outcomes.
Mm-hmm. You can just go watch some high-level Big 12 basketball for pretty cheap.
Get to the semis for $20.
I don't know.
Something like that.
Final is going to be like Texas Tech in Houston, and the crowd size will be interesting.
Someone says, Drew, go eat an edible and sit in the sun and enjoy.
Wow. Someone says I can just get a lawn chair and watch my neighbors do their yard work.
Was that?
Someone says I can just get a lawn chair and watch them do yard work. Like, don't actually do any of my
missed a spot over there.
Hang on. That would be weird. That would, for someone who doesn't care about yard work, if you were all of a sudden, hey, you missed a spot over there, excuse me?
I'd have to yell. You know what's funny about that is like my neighbors are far enough away because like one's across the street and I only have one. I borderline would have to yell that at them based on where I would sit in the chair. It'd be like across the street, missed a spot, Steve! Like you just be like,
They turn around, excuse me?
There is a guy on our street who washes the inside of his car twice a week. Like the mats in the driveway twice a week. And I'm like, sir.
Wow.
This car. Woo.
What kind of car is it?
Yeah.
Like
is it
a
anything
Pacifica
special?
or something.
It's
I don't
nothing
know.
like special.
Just like a regular minivan. No, it's just like a regular. It's not like a Lambo.
Pacifica's nice. Go to Max Motors. They got the Chrysler Pacifica right now. But yeah, I was thinking you're telling me this guy has like a Ferrari in the front yard or something. Living in your neighborhood, Cody.
Got a Porsche.
No, dude. Just
that neighborhood, man. People got Ferraris all over the place.
We're not making that. I don't think we're making dramatically different money, Gold. I don't think I'm living in a Ferrari neighborhood.
It's the Mustang that Gold was driving.
That's right.
Just looks like a regular minivan.
I enjoy driving that Mustang. I got to go back down to Max Motors, talk to the guys down there. All right, we're back at it tomorrow. Josh Vern here once again. Josh Briscoe going to join us for a little fan club Friday. We'll talk more about what happens tonight for the Missouri Tigers and for the Kansas Jayhawks. Could we have both local schools still alive in their respective conference tournaments? And anything new on the Aaron Rodgers front, I'm sure we'll get to. That's coming up tomorrow. Up next, C-Dot, Rob on the Drive.